Go back to 1989 thanks to Electverse. Recommended this one last week, and I appreciate that recommendation. Sorry about that. We're going to be playing Final Fight from Capcom, which came out in 1989. We'll be using the Final Fight Double Impact Collection to play this. And actually, I was thinking about this throughout the week, because I was saying, okay, I was asked to do Final Fight, and whenever it comes to requests like that, it's an ask and you shall receive situation, as far as I'm concerned. So we're doing Final Fight, but considering I beat Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in 45 minutes, not even last week, I'll tell you what we're going to do this week. We're going to play both of the games in this collection, which was developed by Proper Games out of Scotland, interestingly enough. And it came out in 2010, at least this collection did. Now, playing on the Xbox 360, or in my case, the Xbox One, this is backwards compatible for that. It is also on the PS3, and if you have PlayStation Now, you can play it on PS4 and PS5. So what this collection is, it has Final Fight from 1989, as I mentioned, as well as Magic Sword from 1990. And because of the length of beat-em-ups like this, we're going to do both games. But we're going to be starting with Final Fight, as that was what was requested of me, and that's what you want to see, and I do appreciate the requests. And is there any other question you have? I'll fulfill. In fact, actually, next week's game is going to be one of those games. That's going to be Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation. We'll get into that when we are done tonight. But tonight, it's going to be Capcom's time to shine with Final Fight, which, honestly, is a game, my experience with this is actually pretty limited. Despite some of the other beat-em-ups I played for this, whether it's been Turtles, whether it was, I guess, X-Men and Simpsons, and whenever it's going to be whenever I do Streets of Rage, I haven't played Final Fight that much. Honestly, my experience with it is mostly with this collection. But we're going to start and play it. Okay, so here's what we got. And we got the little intro screen here. We have the story of this game is Mike Haggar is the mayor of Metro City, and this guy and his gang has kidnapped his daughter. And in amidst that, we also have Cody, who is the girlfriend, or the boyfriend of Jessica, who's the daughter, who's kidnapped by the Mad Gear gang, and Guy, his best friend. In fact, you can actually see on the sides of the machine, they did a really good job with setting this up for this collection, showing the actual arcade artwork and everything going to this. So, with that, let's get started with Final Fight. Create the session. The arcade loading stuff. Now, we have a choice of three characters. We have Guy, we have Cody, and Haggar. I'm going to use Haggar this time. And also, we get these little things. These are for achievements. They give you little challenges as far as that. They'll pop up on screen as you go along. They'll go away in a few minutes. But basically how this works is, again, just walk around, beat people up. Not much more to it than that. But each of the three characters has their own abilities to themselves as far as what their special attack is. You press the attack and jump button. Oh, okay, if I can do it right and not get punched in the back. Well, I can also grab them and throw them that way, and that's the idea of Mayor Haggar in this game. We also appeared in Saturday Night Slam Masters for the Genesis and the Super Nintendo, which is also a Capcom game. Again, you can walk up to people and grab them kind of the way Streets of Rage would end up doing 2 years after this one. But basically just walk around, beat people up, and make sure you don't run out of time or die. But there could be a lot of dying on my part because, again, it's an arcade beat-em-up, and I'm a little rusty on this one. Although, for that, I actually got through that part pretty easily. Alrighty. So again, that's going to be pretty much what we're doing here. Just moving around, walking across the city, and just beating people up till we get to the end, find the Mad Gear gang, and save, in the case of Haggar, my daughter. But again, or Haggar's daughter anyway. But as I said, based on the story, we also have Cody, who is... Okay, that was just a special move I did. I think if you press A and X in the case of this... Yeah, A and X, which is A is jump for this, and X is attack. Press those at the same time, you do a special move, but it does take your health away if it makes contact. So pick up food to keep your health up. I do love this kind of like grungy music. Now we have Damned we're fighting. All of the enemies in this game, by the way, or most of them anyway, are based on famous musicians. This is named after the Damned, which is a British punk rock group. There's a lot of other references that way in this game. We'll see them as we go. And they were not intentional, or not unintentional, I should say. Because Capcom clearly has a thing with some of that stuff. If you've ever played Mega Man in your life, you know that. And again, we'll get to that when we do Mega Man X3. Or some of the earlier Mega Mans in particular, particularly the first one. But, go around, just beat people up, pick up weapons, and slice them. Or get killed like that. But you do have, I think, a couple. Yeah, you have a couple of lives. You have 2 before you have to get a game over. All right, that's that pop-up, by the way, that's for the vault in this. This collection gives you unlockables based upon things you do within the game, and if you meet them, you can unlock them. I screwed up. In that case, though, I didn't. I unlocked item for the tier 3 by getting 110 points in this level. And we can take a brief look at that when we're done. But I'm going to show you this pretty quick. Yeah, 6 minutes in, and we're already finished with round 1, which is also why we're doing Magic Sword on top of that. Okay, now complete the subway without losing 5 lives. Alright, now we have Poison, probably one of the most famous, or infamous, depending on how you want to look at it, characters in this game. Now, the way Capcom went about this, if you're not aware, is Capcom was like, alright, you're beating up you're beating up these biker chicks, as it is, or as it was, but they were concerned that people were saying, like, hey, it's kind of horrible for you to beat up women. Unfortunately, they ended up making that a little worse by saying, like, oh no, they're just in drag, and years later, people are like, wait a minute, that's even more messed up. And actually, not even years later, 1 year later, because this came out on the Super Nintendo in 2 years later. Came out on the Super Nintendo in 1991, where they changed some of the characters. They changed, I think they took Poison out entirely. Alright, I've got a game over. And when you get a game over, you have this, you're tied up, you have dynamite to you. If you don't press start in time, well, you're going to be gone, but in this case, we're good. But as I was saying, yeah, they changed Poison to be, I guess, a man in drag. It's kind of the reverse of what happened with Birdo in Super Mario Bros. 2. But whereas with that one, Capcom just said, okay, years later, Birdo is a female character. This one, Capcom kind of went through that back and forth for years. And again, by modern standards, especially people like, we're not sure about that. But now what's happened is that I think that's kind of normalized out slightly because Poison and some of the other characters, including Haggar, are in Street Fighter now, particularly in Street Fighter 4 and 5 most recently. So they kind of figured out what they're doing with that. And actually, that's an interesting point to bring up because, as I said, my experience with Final Fight is not very highly, storied. Not the way Streets of Rage is, or Turtles was, for that matter. But this game actually started out as a Street Fighter game. It was called Street Fighter 89, actually. And it was basically taking the concept of the original Street Fighter, not 2, because remember, there was one before 2 that was not very good, and was primitive as anything. But they said, okay, let's take the concept literally. We're going to the streets and we are fighting. But with new characters, and I think they demoed it at like the Consumer Electronics Show, and I think people were saying, yeah, we think this is not much like Street Fighter. Remember, this is before Street Fighter 2 came out and completely revolutionized, I'd say, fighting games in general, arcade games in general, and just a lot of things in general. But what happened is they then changed the name to Final Fight, and that's what we have here. And then in 1991, this got ported to the Super Nintendo, which was widely considered a pretty decent port as far as getting the graphics down. It looks really nice. It looks pretty close to this. But you saw on the title screen when before we started, we had an option of playing with 2 players. Super Nintendo version does not have 2-player at all. So apparently those great graphics and audio and all the other tech that they were using to get it running on Super Nintendo came at the cost of giving us a multiplayer. So yeah, it's definitely kind of a weird situation, and that's something that kind of overshadows the rest of it. And same's going to be when we talk about Magic Sword, and we get to that a little later in the night. But in the meantime, we got this, and outside of this, Final Fight has been a pretty successful franchise for Capcom in the sense they've made a lot of versions of it, a lot of sequels. There's 2 and 3 on the Super Nintendo. I think there were a couple of arcade versions. There was a port of this on the Sega CD, which I hear is amazing, actually. And I'm dead again, but again, we're going to be fine. The only challenge in this case is going to be, do I get that achievement of beating the game with 18 continues or less, which I don't know if I'm doing that. I'm not necessarily going for it, but if we get it, we'll get it, and we'll pull it off. That'll be a nice situation when that happens. But in the meantime, just jump and land on the guys, which again, that's the good thing about Haggar. He is strong, but he's slow, so in that case, you do have to take that into account. But again, you can also pick up Andre Jr., who is also themed not only after music people, but also in the case of this, it's Andre the Giant. So they kind of changed the name, if you're a wrestling fan, so that I guess they wouldn't be sued. Feasible. But anyway, so we're done with the train. Now we're going down the tracks. Again, if you've ever played a street beat 'em up in your life, you've seen some of these environments and things before. But when Final Fight came out, it was kind of unique. We had not seen a whole lot of beat 'em ups at the time, and the genre was kind of in a bit of its infancy. All right, so there's a diamond. You get those for points. I believe you can get extra lives with points, I believe. But again, as I said, my experience with Final Fight is a little limited, so I'm not completely sure as far as that aspect. Which I guess then, if I don't have a whole lot to say on this subject, chat, question for you: what is your experience with Final Fight? And it could feasibly not even be this version, because as I mentioned, there's been sequels to this. There's a fighting game on the Sega Saturn in Japan only, and there was Streetwise, which is a horrible game. But, I mean, if that was your experience, well, I guess so. I mean, this game was unlockable in it, so at least there's that. So let me know what you're thinking as far as that, as I beat up Sodom. And picking up swords to slice and dice. In the wrestling ring, which again is a fitting case for Haggar, but again, I'm dead, and unfortunately, we're going to have to be doing this situation again. Unfortunately, the vault challenge got failed. And again, it does give you those little pop-ups. I wish they gave you an option to turn those off, but again, I do like the idea that, again, they give you a little bit of a roadmap to try to unlock things in this. So, at the very least, there's that. Got him that way, but again, I'm being a little more reckless because of the special attack, but also getting sliced. Yeah, every continue you do get 2 lives, so it is a little better than Turtles in the sense that you only got 1 life in that one. But I'm getting myself sliced. This is a little easier with Guy and Cody, unless you're doing like the jumps like I am, or slice him with the sword. You're dead. You're dead. Okay, good. So that's round 2 on the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, here's a bonus game. Break the car. You're wondering where that came out of Street Fighter 2? It came out of this game. Just keep hitting that X button and beat that car to smithereens. And pick up the pipe if you need to. In fact, I'll do that just for the purpose of this. Actually, I think you have to destroy a couple of the break points. So I have to hit it from the left, from the right, and I think in the center. Do it within 30 seconds. And again, I might have wasted too much time by just kind of going on the other end. But alright, no I didn't. I got it. There we go. Next up is the west side.
Oh my god.
I always do like that touch in particular. And they actually did add some voice acting to that and to the overall game when they ported this to Sega CD, which I never played that version, but I hear it's really good. And unlike the Super Nintendo version, it did have 2 players supported to it, and it looked almost dead on to it. So, gotta give Capcom some credit for getting that going on the Sega CD and getting it going as well as they apparently did. Especially for the time it came out, which was, I think, 1992 or 3. It was early for the CD. So, at that point, there hadn't been as many home ports of this as there are now. Because, again, you can get this on the Double Impact Collection, as I mentioned. You can get it as an unlockable Final Fight Streetwise if you want to do that. Or you can also get the Capcom Classics Collection, which I think is on the PS2 and the Xbox. And there's a version on the PSP as well. Or you can also buy the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle that came out about 2 years ago for Switch, Xbox One, and PS4. And I think it's also PC as well. Which had this, and then I think 7 other beat 'em ups of Capcom, some of which had never come home until that collection, which means that I really need to get a copy of that. And they put it on sale all the time. It's usually $20, but I see it on sale for 10 like every other week on basically any store you want to go to, whether it's Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, or the eShop on Switch. Now we're in the bar, and as is the case with any kind of, experience in bars, in media, either movies or games or anything, you're going to fight. You pick up knives and swords and slice these guys to death. Or just slam them to the ground. So much fun. Again, simple and repetitive, but sometimes just that quality of how it feels and plays and looks and sounds is enough to get you going. And in a lot of cases for me, and this might be an interesting question, I guess, for Chad as well, which is, what are some of your favorite beat-em-ups, and how are you able to determine to yourself what makes a good one and a bad one? I know I'd mentioned that a little bit last week with the Turtles in Time remake that came out in 2009, that being one I don't like. But as far as a lot of beat-em-ups like this, of this era, what's the idea of that? What makes it good to you or not? I mean, in my case, I would say my experience for the really good ones really were, I guess, sort of this, but also especially Streets of Rage and Golden Axe. As far as bad ones, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of drawing a blank. Alright, well, Andre the Giant Jr. is picking me up and taking me over here. So we gotta go into the ring. Good question, don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because for certain genres, I mean, and maybe also because, and we mentioned this back in December when I did my flight shooter showcase. I was saying, okay, there were tons of games in this genre back in the day. There aren't as many anymore. I mean, nowadays, you do have a decent amount, because Streets of Rage 4 came out last year, and at some point I do want to get to that, but I want to do the other three first. And we saw, what was it? What came out last year? Well, okay, recently released was the re-release of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, but also last year we got, I think there was a take on Street Fighter, or not Street Fighter, on Streets of Rage. It was something different. I think Street Brawl, I think it was on the Switch. And I think there was something else that came out last year. I know Streets of Rage 4 is the one that really stuck out in my mind most, because this is an awesome game. If you haven't played Streets of Rage 4, I recommend it highly. But again, I guess because there was a time when these games were sort of everywhere, and we don't see them as much, it's kind of a tough thing to say, well, okay, what's a really good one, a really bad one of the time? I mean, because I even said Turtles in Time Reshelled, which was the remake of Turtles in Time. That was years later, so I'm like, okay, that's not good. But again, is that good by the later standards? I mentioned Final Fight Streetwise because that was back in 2006, and that was an interesting situation around that time because there were a lot of games trying to go back to beat-em-ups, because there was Beatdown Fist of Vengeance, which was also by Capcom. There was Urban Reign by Namco, and even Rockstar got into the act with their game based on the Warriors, which was really good, by the way. That was like the only really good one of that time, because Beatdown wasn't very good, Urban Reign wasn't very good, Streetwise was horrible. The other Final Fight game, that's the last, I guess, official Final Fight that's not like a port of this. And they went in like a really gritty direction. I think it was a game that didn't even start as Final Fight, and then they just inserted characters into it. They went M-rated with it in a way that felt really tawdry, even more than some of the ways you could say with, you know, some of the weirdness and stuff with poison in this game. That one really is like, ugh, it just looked horrible, and it played horribly. But again, of the time, I'm not really thinking of too many that were like, oh yeah, they're really bad. I mean, I know people will say that let's go to Sega for a second here, Streets of Rage and Golden Axe were great games, and then some of their sequels, particularly the third of each of them, people aren't huge on, but even then, they still play okay, even if they're not as good as the previous two. So, I mean, maybe something like that, more just the situation that was more disappointing at the time, unless you could really think of something, you know, not so hot. I know there was maybe just some of the other, I guess, underrepresented or underrated or under the radar beat-em-ups, because I know there was Tough Enough for the Super Nintendo, which I believe is on the Switch Online, actually, that was kind of seen as like a rip-off of this. And actually, some people would say, I've heard people who really don't like the sequels to this that were on the Super Nintendo saying that they just didn't really deliver. So maybe that would be a situation. But outside of that, I can't really think of many as far as that era or any that I played. Maybe just because like it's not like a platform game or something like that where I played so many of them back in the day. I mean, again, I didn't even play this until... Actually, I think it was when I bought this collection. It was the first time I ever played Final Fight. Alright, I unlocked something. What was that? We have West Side with Haggar, you get West Side Story in the Vault. Again, we can look at that when we're done with the game, but that's round 3. Oh, and I also got for 210,000 points. Yeah, I'm getting points for this, so there's that. And now we're on to the factory, because again, if you ever played a beat-em-up in your life from the 80s and 90s, we're going to go to a factory at some point. It's kind of law for this. Alright, so I got to be careful here because there is fire on the ground. But it burns the enemies too, so at least there's that. Hope I can also jump over it to an extent. Yeah, gotta be careful of that firewall. or the fact that it's moving now. Okay. So there's a little bit of variety as far as what they give you, as far as some of the stages, the hazards, and of course the enemies. And there's Slash, who is named, of course, after the guitarist from Guns N' Roses. And Poison, I guess I should mention with Poison, and Roxy, which was... I'm trying to remember what the reference to Roxy was. I don't think it was to the band Roxy Music. Or maybe it was. But I know with Slash, that was the guitarist for Guns N' Roses. Poison was a reference to the glam metal band led by Bret Michaels. So there is that as well. So there's the burger. I want to pick that up or not. Yeah, again, we're going to be seeing this a lot because, again, it is a beat-em-up, and this is admittedly not my forte as far as my skill level. Honestly, I'll do better when I do Streets of Rage. At least I hope so. And I do want to do Streets of Rage at some point this year because this year is the 30th anniversary of that series. So we'll do that at some point later this year, although I guess then... I have a couple questions then to the audience on that. This is, I guess, more of a future planning thing on me. What version of Streets of Rage 1 do you want to see? Because I do have it ported from the Genesis on a couple collections. There's the Streets of Rage collection for this. And then I also have a version on the Sega CD, actually. So I'm curious which one you want to see, because I want to do a different version of each of the main three. So I guess feasibly in that case, I probably should do the Sega CD, because I was going to use the Street Fighter collection for the third game. But what do you guys want to see as far as that game is concerned? And also, for that matter, do you want to see more Final Fight or more beat-em-ups like this? And if so, which ones? I got to do that while I'm getting, firebombed by those enemies there. Or also, again, using my attack there, but again, it drains your health, so you got to be careful and it puts me in trouble that way. I guess I must have gotten a life because I have 3 now, or I had 3 anyway. Next, we go to the elevator. Again, these are stock locations now as far as beat-em-ups. But again, it's kind of a tradition. Boxer visible during the game. Okay. Huh. Alright. Alright, so we have an impromptu guest on this program. Alright. I wonder if he knows I'm streaming this, but okay. So I get to show off the 2-player without, even intending it. But again, this is how you want to play a game like this, so I'm kind of glad that happens. Again, this game does have drop-in, drop-out online multiplayer, and it also has options as far as the, I guess, the latency aspects of it, because it does seem pretty smooth. And I'm also surprised that for a game that came out in 2000, or this collection came out in 2010, that I'm still finding people this far after it to jump in and want to play it with me. Because again, I mentioned that with Turtles last week, that game got delisted, and it's up on... Again, I went on the online just to see if anyone was there. I was like, yeah, of course not. But this one, I'm kind of surprised. But I think also we're in that situation where you can hurt the other player. So I want to be a little careful that way. And that'll just create a bit of a different dynamic when you're playing multiplayer with someone in a game like this. Because I remember the first time I played Streets of Rage with another player, I was hitting them left and right, and then they were doing the same to me. Or if you ever played something like Battletoads, where you run into that situation too. But with this, again, we do have to beat him. We have another player ready to go, and that is pretty cool. Unfortunately, Cody is dead, so I'm going to stay back a little. I don't want to hit him with my knife. I want to avoid the grenades of Mr. Rolento here. Whoa. I got blown up. Well, I do have another life. I wonder how this is going to work if I get a game over on this. But again, this is kind of interesting. I guess that's the benefit of having my Xbox Live account, my gold account active. Because sometimes I'm like, yeah, I don't usually have a whole lot of time to be playing games with other people as far as going online and things. But when I do, it is the kind of thing I'm thinking, well, alright, I would like to do that. So in that case, it kind of is an interesting benefit. I guess show that, again, people want to play Final Fight, so there is that. We get Rolento, please. Oh, we can't. Slam in the ground. There we go. Determined 2. Oh, Determined 2. Complete industrial without using 2 continues. Okay, so actually we're getting a good amount of unlockables for the vault. And now we have another bonus stage. Break the glass. Alright, this is going to be an interesting one. Oh, shit, sorry. Oh, we get it? Oh, yeah, got it. Alright, good. I guess I won by getting more hit down. Alright. Now we're going over to the Bay Area. Dude, Guido levels in co-op. Okay, I don't know how that's going to work because, again, he came in... let's see. Going? Hello? Okay, there we go. I was going to say, I don't know how it's going to go because he jumped in while I was playing already, so I don't think it's going to give me credit if we beat the game on those co-op levels, although feasibly, I guess what it means is that I don't have to go through the game again if I ever want to get it, or you don't have to go through it entirely again. But again, it is fun, and again, I think it is very smooth. I'm liking that, because usually with something like this, sometimes you get situations where, oh, it's going to lag, or you're going to have, like, latency problems. And they do have, like, I think what they use, and we saw that when we loaded this game up, is, like, the GGPO, I guess, latency system thing. I know Capcom's used that with a couple of the things they're doing at the time. They did that with the Street Fighter 3 Third Strike port. They did that with, I think, the Darkstalkers port that came out. I think they did it with another one you can't get anymore. There's the port of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is the fighting game that came out on the Dreamcast. They put it out on the 360 and the PS3, and again, because of the license, that being based on the anime and manga, you can't get it anymore. But I believe they used the same technology for that, and I remember people saying, like, yeah, the concern of games like this running at, you know, a poor, you know, lag situation, it kind of fixed the situation. In fact, I remember, and that's even recently, because I remember my girlfriend and I, we've sometimes played games online via the Switch, particularly like the Nintendo Switch Online for stuff for the NES and the Super Nintendo, and we noticed that in a lot of cases, I think she had to update her router or something in her house. What happened was that we ran into a situation, we were playing like Mario 3, and the lag was insanely bad. And I think it might have been from her end, feasibly, because I have Fios where I am, so it's actually pretty good. I never have like a situation with lag when I'm playing games, but whatever the case, it just seemed like it was really off. I mean, it was basically unplayable. But yet then we played Mario Kart 8, which has online on Switch, and that ran fine, even under the same internet setup. So maybe it's something with the way they set it up for the Nintendo Switch Online in that case. Anything, well, Mario 3 from NES should be running better than Mario Kart 8 from Switch, but it didn't. But again, Capcom, give them credit for, in 2010, even looking at that and saying, okay, here's how we want to handle this. Alright, there we go. It's also because we have two players, we don't get that game over screen of me, you know, trying to blow up the dynamite again. But again, it does make things a bit easier, and feasibly I might be getting that achievement for 18 continues or less. Oh, alright. Alright, I was just saying about lag, but again, like, okay, there's a little, but not too bad. I do like the night sky, although I do notice, like, there's a little bit of the, like, you see, like, the cut-off, you can see that, right, in the background with the cityscapes, because they have different layers of the black sky and then the kind of, sort of midnight blue back there. Again, I don't know if that's a problem with the original arcade version, it might be, but it is something that looks kind of off. Again, you also have the dogs, you know, supporting me, and our online friend here as well. Alright, there we go, we got bathroom wall writing. Let me go and help him. That's the other thing, again, about having a beat-em-up with another player. You could get in situations where you get to help people. I remember I had a situation like that when I was playing Streets of Rage with someone at MagFest last year, which was a lot of fun. We beat the game in record time. We were basically completely on point with everything, and that's always a great thing when you get into a situation like that with a beat-em-up like this, particularly one where you can hurt each other. Right, so there you got the bathroom wall writings with Sexy, which I believe that was pulled out of the Super Nintendo version. It would have had to been, I would think. But again, we're beating up Slash. And Axl, right, after Axl Rose, speaking of which, with Guns N' Roses, so there we go. We also have Slash, again, there's a lot of slashes in this game, I'm noticing. Cody, take the chicken, and I'll take the pizza. So yeah, it's just like last week, it's pizza time, just like with Turtles. And also, is that, alcohol? Oh, yeah, whiskey, okay. I unfortunately do not have any whiskey on me to actually drink while I'm playing this. I have other kinds of alcohol, but I don't have any that I poured for me for the purpose of this. Then again, that might be something else to do at some point. And I've done this a couple times. When I'm playing a game, try and have a drink whilst I go. Alright, there's curry, so as well. Ooh. Well, there's Bollywood and Flame. Okay, there we go. There's a lot of guys on screen. Actually, there is something to be said about the fact that it is as smooth as it is, just as far as the game itself, and then also the online aspect of it. That's $1 and a necklace. So again, you're just picking stuff off the street. Who knows where it came from? But again, got the streets there. All right, let me pull this. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it seems like we're kind of working simpatico. We're not being the people who are like, oh yeah, I'm taking every item. Which again, you've probably been in that situation. You might have potentially been one of those players accidentally of like, all right, I'm picking that up, and then you'll forget, oh wait a minute, he's hurting more, he needs it, or she needs it playing that way, depending on what beat 'em up you're playing. Again, going back to Streets of Rage. Man, there are a lot of knives coming down on the ground here. There you go. Yeah, when you're in a bind like that, again, press A and X, and you'll do that spin thing, but again, if it makes contact, you're going to get hurt. I do like how that dog is just standing there and just, you know, just barking on, not even getting involved with this, as opposed to something like Shadow Dancer from Sega, where you basically have the dog helping you out. You can actually sick the dog on the enemies as well, which is always fun. In fact, I should do that one. That's pretty cool. Although if I'm going to do Shinobi, I kind of want to do either Revenge of Shinobi or Shinobi 3 first, because those games are really good, particularly Shinobi 3. I guess Metro City is, I guess it is it New York City? It must be, because look, there is the Statue of Liberty. Or again, it might be a situation like when I played Pilot Wings 64 last year. It's like, well, yeah, you're in an area where the Statue of Liberty just happens to be. So, like, yeah, Metro City has its own Statue of Liberty, so there you go. And it looks like there's a laser coming out of it, which is kind of like a precursor to what Turtles in Time is going to be when I finally, A, get that game, and B, play it. If he's, I guess, Hyperstone Heist as well, because Hyperstone Heist has the same story. Alright, here's Abigail. I don't remember specifically what he's supposed to be a reference to, but I'm pretty sure it is. Alright, yeah, fortunately, you get these enemies that have higher life bars, which is why they're in the different color as they are. But again, when you die and come out, everybody will hit the ground, so you do get a little bit of leniency that way. And just beat up the enemies with the colored bars like that. Okay, he's pretty good to be able to be set to throw him like that. As to do that, we get him down to yellow, and then eventually to red, and ooh, that's not good. Yeah, I'll let him take care of that, while, again, holding off all the other enemies. Ooh, boy. I am noticing a little bit of lag, but it's not too bad. Again, it's still completely playable. Alright, down you go, Abigail. Yeah, it's weird. I do want to defend him, but at the same time, I also want to be careful not to hit him. Again, because unlike Turtles, where you couldn't hurt the other player, this game you can, so... Oh, I got a game over. Alright. Okay. So we did it. That's round 5. Yeah, again, we're making pretty quick progress on this, which is also why we're doing Magic Sword. So here we go. And we'll get another bonus if we complete this in under 9 minutes, which with another player is probably going to make it a lot easier. Yeah, he's doing his special moves as am I. As long as it doesn't connect, you don't take damage. But again, as soon as it hits an enemy, that's when you have the risk-reward situation of, again, losing health for using that. But again, it can clear out a crowd, which is very useful. I want to be careful of that. Knowing that kind of game logic, if you're standing under a chandelier like that, chances are it's going to fall. There you go. And usually this is the way I tend to play, you know, beat-em-ups co-op like this. One person takes one side of the screen, the other one takes the other side. Seems like the best way to go about it. There we go, and also using your special move at the right time to knock everybody down. Unfortunately, I got stabbed by Elgato. Oh, no, I want to use him still. Because, yeah, if you get a game over, you can still select another character. So in this case, it would have been Guy, who was not in the Super Nintendo port of this. It was only Cody and Haggar. In fact, they released a version called Final Fight Guy that then added Guy into it, and I think was sort of enhanced. And I think what happened was it was a Japan-only game, and then they released it as a Blockbuster Video rental exclusive. And now it costs a fortune. Probably because of that, but also just because, yeah, it seems to be one that people don't want to pick up. I never played it, so I don't know about that. There you go. I mean, in that case, I guess I'm kind of maybe out of stuff to talk about. I mean, as far as this, at least for this one. When we get to Magic Sword, that'll be another situation, because that'll be another fresh case. But I think we're almost near the end. I think there's only about 7, 8 stages to this. And I think this is the 6th one, so we should be in good shape. I got burned. And so did he. Because, again, it's the kind of thing that it seems like it's a shared situation. And again, I do like this, because, again, it makes it a little easier. I don't have to technically be doing this myself. I guess that goes to another thing. I mean, I guess since I'm kind of out of stuff to talk on this game in particular, also, again, because my experience with Final Fight is a little limited, I would say that this might be an interesting idea. If I kind of rope other people into like doing the online stuff for some of these games, or again, when I have more people to be able to play either in the same room with, or again, like audio, video chat with people, and have them witness the game with me. There's certainly some games I would like to do that with, but I still have to figure out how I want to do that, what games those would be for, and also how to make that work, because I want it to sound natural for the purpose of the person watching. I want to make it so that, because here's the thing, I'm playing this game, you're seeing a bit of a delay. You're hearing what I'm saying a couple seconds after I say it. So I'd like to avoid that if we're going to be doing something, you know, virtually with someone on the other end. That would be fun. I could help with that. I would absolutely be down with that. Proturova. I was stopping there because I want to make sure I pronounce it right. I've never pronounced it right, and I want to make sure that's the set. I've been thinking about that with certain games, especially knowing you. I know there's some certain games that I know I could not get away with doing if I didn't have you around by my side for them. But I want to try and figure out how I want to do that, because I want to make it so that it's natural for you watching. So you're not going to be delayed on the back of what you're seeing me do. But also I want to make it so that it's also not going to be a sound delay. So basically it's like it would be us or whoever else talking basically on the same wavelength as this, and then us being delayed on the purpose of the audience. And I think I could make that work. I've thought about a little bit of that, and I'm thinking maybe what I could do is I could use, because again, the way I do this, just to give you a little bit of a behind-the-curtain situation, I have my game capture device connected to my PC, and then I have the microphone going there. Strategy games aren't time-sensitive. Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, because again, I've mentioned this before, and to anybody else watching as well, if this is the case, the whole point of this has been, I want to replicate the idea of what it is when you have friends with you, like either in the same room or whatever, just talking to each other, having a good time with a game, exploring things, facilitating conversation that way. And I want to make it, if I'm going to have to be doing it, you know, from a, okay, yeah, it's spiked there, so I was like, wait, I was a little nervous, but if that's the case, I want to make sure it's as natural as I can for the people involved, because I would think, well, from my perspective, like, well, if I'm seeing something at a delay, that might not help. But so basically what I was thinking is that I might, since I used my PC for the capturing and for the recording of the audio, feasibly use my either another PC or a cell phone, perhaps, to get an audio-video situation going on from that. Maybe just, like, put that onto, like, a tripod or something, facing the television and also in enough of a distance where it would be picked up by the microphone. And honestly, I think that might be the best way to go about it, honestly. Okay, so we're almost at the top of the tower. I think we're almost at the end of the game, honestly. This might honestly end up being either as short or shorter than... Okay, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to roll the... Yeah, I want to roll that into him, because sometimes you hit the barrels and they'll just roll towards the other guy. But again, I think that might be how I'll do it. I think... Or they'll just roll like that, and I can jump over them. Yeah, but I think that that's kind of how I want to do it. I basically would just want to use, again, the guest appearance, again, if I'm not having someone in the same room with me, on, like, a video screen on my phone or another laptop or something, looking at the screen the way I am here. And they'll have a view of all the audio for the game and all the audio of me talking in real time. Whoops, sorry, Mr. Beat you up. And then make it so that, again, we'd be able to you can facilitate a conversation that way. And again, like, certainly the chat way works, but again, if it's particularly the people I know, and also if it's the kind of thing that it's like, oh yeah, we want to showcase that situation, I think there's a way we could do it and make it feel natural while also still going about it. And I think I'm going to try and look into how I want to do it. I mean, I'll at least do that for certain things, particularly if it's a game that I'm asked specifically that, hey, I want to be on board with this, as far as discussion. Again, certain games are better for that. I mean, for a beat-em-up like this, I'm kind of having help from an outside source who probably doesn't even know I'm streaming this. Or maybe he does, who knows. And if you do, thank you. I appreciate you adding to my stream this way. But in that way, I mean, I can feasibly talk a game like this myself, or talk about what it is, but some games are more about that discussion, particularly for games when I know more people have played them. Because people mentioned to me a couple games that they want to see done. They mentioned stuff like Mega Man X3, they mentioned stuff like some of the Zelda games, they mentioned... I've heard Perfect Dark as an example. Okay, I'm good to that, so... I've heard some other games as well on top of that. Strategy games in particular as well. And, again, I want to make that as natural as I can, especially to enjoy that experience. Basically the idea of, even if they're not in the same room, we're there. Alright, so here's Belger. I think he is the final boss. So he's in a wheelchair, and, or well, he was, and he was faking it, but he has a crossbow that he shoots those arrows at, so gotta be careful beating him. But again, we're at the end, so we should be able to get him. Oh, and I guess the girl there, nothing's happened with him. Alright, I'll let Cody deal with that. And even a little bit of blood, I guess, here as well. So, again, I think that got censored of the Super Nintendo version. And I think also out of the... Because actually, there's one port of this I forgot to mention. This was on the Game Boy Advance. Pretty early into the system's life. They called it Final Fight 1, spelled out with the 1, which is an interesting way of naming that. But again, it actually did have two-player, unlike the Super Nintendo version. Actually, it is a better take on this game than even on Super Nintendo, surprisingly. But... Oh, yeah, it's a spike there. But yeah, there was that version as well. Alright, so we didn't finish Uptown under 10 minutes, that's fine. That's for the vault. But again, we'll go through and we'll see what happens when we beat Belger, because I think this is it. Right. Body slam him, or... Alright, I'm dead, again. Alright, one more. Okay, come on. Ah! The thing is, he has a projectile like that, and I'm not much... Alright, well, he did it. Alright, so he knocked Beldra out the window. Perfect. Okay, so that's one achievement. Coin Gobbler. So that was... Lesson 18 continues. Haggar. That's when you beat the game with Haggar. Or with Haggar. I think it's Haggar. Alright, so since we saved with Haggar, this is Meg Haggar and the daughter. Father was so scared. I'm glad to see they didn't hurt you. I'm so sorry, Jessica. Hey, Jessica's the name of the daughter. I thought I'd lost you like I lost your mother. Yeah, that's the backstory, because Mike Haggar became mayor of the city because he wanted to, you know, he wanted to sort of make up for his mother, or his wife dying. So with that, there we go. And there's also Guy. We didn't see him in this playthrough, but he's there. He's the master of ninjutsu with lightning speed, catching his opponents off guard with the off-the-wall jump. So, okay, that is Final Fight. Classic beat-em-up from Capcom. It's simple and repetitive, but it is a lot of fun. Again, I can't really find too much to fault as far as this, and this collection did a good job of capturing the idea of it. So as Cody and Guy walk down the street, we wait for the credits to be... Oh, in fact, that's Jessica right there. Okay, Cody. Okay. Oh, okay. So a guy punched him, apparently. There we go. Where are you going? How can you just walk away now? I want to stay here with you, Jessica. But I can't. Not while evil still stalks the streets. Oh, Cody. Basically, again, setting up the sequels where, again, Cody and Guy and Haggar would, you know, go about it. And with that, we get to put our name in. I think. Or maybe not. Okay, this is, that's weird. Okay. Let's see what happens. I want to see this. Okay, so it just does that. Because what happens is, this is the interface of the collection here. It pulls you back out of that when you beat it. And actually, before we go on to Magic Sword, we're going to take a look at the attract situation. Okay, but May Haggar is a former Street Fighter. That's the idea. Although I don't think he was tied to Street Fighter until Street Fighter, I think Alpha. And he was also Street Fighter 4 and 5. Let's at least take a look at the story first, again, now that we're at this point. So that's, again, the Mad Gear Gang, which we already beat up. But again, we're set to that, and again, might see them if we do another Final Fight game. That being said, I don't have another one to do that I currently own. But again, depending on if you guys want to see more Final Fight or other Final Fight games, I'd be willing to do those. Even the ones that are bad, if you want to see them. If you want to see Streetwise, let me know. It should be cheap. I should be able to play it feasibly. But okay, with that, I think we are going to be done with this in just a second, and then we'll go on to Magic Sword. There we go. So that was Final Fight. And actually, let's take a look at that vault quickly before we jump in. Again, because you do some things in the game. You unlock, like, artwork. Actually, like, even, like, Street Fighter 2 Turbo comics, it seems. And comic art, fan art, that of Guy, let's see. Comic stuff. Some concept art of the cabinet. So actually, it does have some neat little extras here. And again, they give you a little bit of the information as far as how to unlock them. And they do this also for Magic Sword. And we'll see that when we go over to Magic Sword. In fact, let's do that. Hit the X button. Here's Magic Sword. This came out a year after Final Fight. This was 1990. And if I didn't have experience with Final Fight, really, I have less with this one. Because I never played it until this, and I had barely even heard of it. And not for an insane reason, because Magic Sword has not been ported much. This, I think, aside from the Super Nintendo version, is the only place you can get this still. And the Super Nintendo version of that, just like the Super Nintendo version of Final Fight, didn't have a single player, and it also had other concessions that went into it. But we're going to see what the fuss is about with this. Okay, I'll save in progress, it's fine, we'll skip that. Alright, yeah, we're in a little more of a fantasy milieu on this one. kind of more in the line of Golden Axe. And actually, Golden Axe did predate this one, unlike with Final Fight, where Final Fight came before Streets of Rage. And again, you have like ninjas and fantasy enemies as well. Although I guess, thinking this is Capcom, they probably might have had on their minds when they made this Ghosts and Goblins. Because Ghosts and Goblins was a game of theirs that came out with a fantasy milieu from before this. Here we go, Magic Sword Fantasy, or Fantasy Victory? I don't know what it said. We'll see it again later. Droughtmark Keep, the dragon's tower glows red. The black orb has been reawakened. Destroy it and bring light back to our world. Alright. And again, like with Final Fight, we have two-player going on in this, and we might run into a two-player situation with this, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so let's start and we'll get going. Yeah, unlike Final Fight, though, we don't have... Well, first off, we don't have fully directional movement. Just moving left and right and ducking and jumping and attacking with your sword. And the thing about that is you want to wait until the sword charges up, that meter on the bottom there, and then you can just throw out a projectile. It just sounds a bit like Castlevania. Yeah, I would say, yeah, it's true. I mean, you can definitely get that sense. I mean, there are definitely a lot of other, like, fantasy-type games around, or I guess maybe sort of horror. But yeah, so again, so pretty basic. Again, I don't really have much, but the other thing I do remember for this game, when a few times I played it, you could pick up items in the environment. You can also crouch down and jump out from platforms and basically get power-ups. So again, when you charge up strongly, you can throw out fireballs like that. And you have a time limit on where they are. Right there it says 39, 38, counting down. Alright, that's key. Press lever up, or up on the D-pad, to save that guy. Or, actually, wait a minute. Oh, a follower. Okay. That's neat. So I have a follower is coming with me and is going to be shooting. Alright, so it's kind of like an RPG almost, in the sense I can get a party going. Or get a helper. And you can't play this two-player, so I don't know if it's that the helper is the second player, or if it's just you have a second player going just in general, which probably is the case on the latter. Alright, so we got these bears throwing axes at us, and the wolves, actually more out of, not golden axes, but altered beasts. Now we have the griffin. Whoa! Alright, I fortunately failed that achievement, which is complete the level without being hit and without using the magic, but unfortunately I think that's fine. We can get this to another point. The other thing feasibly with this collection, just to let you know, is that there are options to set difficulties as well. I'm playing on normal, just for the purpose of that being the default. But again, feasibly I could cheese that by going, oh, we got the Falchion, so, okay, we're in Fire Emblem territory now. That was the name of the sword in that game, although maybe it's just a generic type of sword. Okay, so there's our vitality there. Going. Alright, so again, pretty basic, but it is fun. I do like some of the ideas about how they're varying this up. Again, with the idea you're building up your magic, and you're basically waiting to do attacks instead of, I mean, it pretty much is, I guess, encouraging you not just to keep hitting X all the time, but again, that's not changing for me because I am hitting X all the time with this, because it's a beat 'em up. But still, it gives you a little more incentive to not do that, because then I can use my magic. I mean, in a way, though, it also does... The thing I'll say about this one is I get the sense that... Oh, actually, okay, you're leveling up as well, I think, when you're getting points. And that seems as if that's something that Capcom would also go back to, as far as arcade beat-em-ups go, with the Dungeons & Dragons games they made. And actually, they did re-release those on the 360 and PS3. And actually, I have that. It was the Chronicles of Mysteria. There were two of them. And the collection has both. I think there was also a version of that on the Sega Saturn in the Dungeons & Dragons collection. And it's interesting seeing how those games operate with kind of going the RPG vibe. It seems like this is almost like a little bit of a precursor to that one. Whoa. Alright, I guess that's a magic power that I have. Open the door with the key and... Oh, another floor, okay. 49. Okay, is that like a skip or something? But hey, Electverse, how you doing? We played Final Fight. I do want to let you know that in case you got here late, I didn't forget your pick. We played it. Unfortunately, I already beat it. But in fact, I had a little bit of impromptu help because I had an instant join going on. The point is, I didn't forget your game. We did it, unfortunately. But I can go back to it and play it for like a few more minutes as well, if you'd like. When we're done with this. I'm doing Magic Sword now because I finished that really quickly, and I expected, because of the arc we beat 'em up, that would be the case. So we're doing more than one. And next week we're not going to have that problem, because next week we're going to be doing Metal Gear Solid, and I'm going to be doing that for the next 2 weeks, because A, it's a longer game, and B, because I can't think of anything else to do before, I think, what was it, the 13th of February? And because that's when I'm doing my next entry of SuperOldGameSaturday with Knuckles Chaotix. And in March, we're going to be doing the game you requested, or the games you requested to like first, which are Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine and Sonic the Fighters, and I'm all set for those. And I'm looking forward to doing it. So that will be in March. And I will definitely announce that as we go. And each week we'll go into that more. But again, with Magic Sword, I guess we're going up the tower. I mean, is this going to be the whole game? Because honestly, I've never played this game. Chat, what's your experience with Magic Sword? Do you have any? Because I know this is a rare, kind of not talked about much beat 'em up. In fact, I mentioned before, Pitfall was when? Oh, Mind Venture? I want to do that next month. Yeah, I'm going to do that next month. We're going to be doing the Sega CD version of that. Get rid of me. Yeah, I've been requested by Protorova, Pitfall the Mind Adventure, and again, when it comes to requests for this channel of games you want to see, ask and you shall receive. If I have it, we'll play it. If I don't have it, I'll pick it up. Feasibly if I can get it cheap, or again, if it's something that is something I should be getting anyway, that I was wanting to collect as is, I will still pick it up. But again, we'll do Pitfall next month sometime. I'm thinking late next month, probably. Again, because I'm going to do your choice, Metal Gear Solid. Okay, I went out, I had fun, went out to eat. Oh, okay. Alright, so you're having a good week, or a good week and a good weekend, and a good Saturday as well. And where is my key? There we go. You're unlocking floors. I guess I'm just going up. I guess we're going up all 47 floors. Okay. Again, because I mentioned, when we were doing Final Fight, I mentioned my experience with, and again, even though we're not playing Final Fight right now, what is your experience with Final Fight Electverse, if you had any? Because I was mentioning when I played it, I had no experience. I had very little experience. It was just this collection. And with Magic Sword, it's less. It's this collection as well. I had known what it was, I just hadn't gotten around to playing it until I bought this. Which is a nice collection, as I mentioned. And again, the online... Wait, what happened there? You saw that, right? It went by really fast. Alright, so... Dragon, Adventure... Okay, let's kill this guy. That was weird, I just kind of went like a fast forward. It was like a, Alright, so unfortunately I didn't get that, but that's okay. Actually, I'm getting the Castlevania vibe again, Protorova, as you were mentioning, because, again, it looks like a Castlevania boss, it looks like a Castlevania setting, and I am done. But I'm not done, because we're in an arcade game, and they don't institute a non-unlimited continue situation. Double Impact is how you experienced it. Yeah, I mean, in that case, I bought Double Impact, I think I remember it was on sale one week, I think it was like $2. At that point, I was thinking, like, I was going to get this anyway. It's normally $10, which is a great price for it anyway. But at that point, I was thinking, well, let's just go the whole route. And honestly, I've not really played... This is actually... What you're looking at here with me playing Magic Sword, this is as far as I've ever gotten into it. So I am learning a lot about this game, feasibly as much as maybe some of you guys watching, potentially. Again, I'm not sure what your experience with this game is, or if you finished it or what, but again, until now, I'd never really gotten into it massively. Okay, so we did it. We destroyed the dragon. Okay, we destroyed the dragon in the last stage, though, so it's a little late to say that. But, yeah, okay, so, yeah, as I mentioned, Double Impact is really one of the only places this game has been ported. The only other place I can think of is, I think the Capcom Classics Collection 2 for the PS2 and Xbox had it, and I think Capcom Classics Collection remixed on the PSP, I believe it was. And outside of that, there's the port on Super Nintendo, which I know is compromising a bunch of different players. Particularly the lack of multiplayer, which is also the case with Final Fight on Super Nintendo. Alright, so there we go. We got the... Okay, lever up. Yeah, I hit lever up. Come on, there we go. Yeah, because what I'm noticing is I am opening up the chests, and that's where the keys are that I'm using to open up the doors of people to release them. And I do like the idea, just saying this right now, that I'm basically rescuing people as I go along, and they're giving me different skills. And also, I was mentioning, like verse 4 you jumped on. This seems a bit like a precursor to, and this is another game we can do at some point, the Dungeons & Dragons beat-em-ups that Capcom did. And again, I have the Chronicles of Mysteria collection for the 360, so we play that. Unfortunately, I got the hit again. Yeah, they pop that up every time you're going for achievement tracking, which is nice, and I do like that. I do wish, though, there was an option to turn it off. I guess feasibly, it turns off if you don't have achievements left yet. Yeah, okay, yeah, definitely the castle. You know what? Protorova, you were right. Castlevania, this is totally like that. I mean, just look at the way this level is set, and look at the way that even, like, the platform challenges are. You have the bramble bushes right there that I get hurt by. You have the spears there. Oh, and I have a time up. Okay. Okay, that I didn't know. They don't have a timer on screen. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. We should be good. Get in the door? There we go. Perfect. The White Wizard can even defeat undead creatures. Okay, so basically, those helpers we're picking up here are going to be helping us with defeating other enemies, so it seems. And again, it's like, I'm kind of going into this game blind to a certain extent. I mean, I played it a little when I first bought this collection, but outside of that, I haven't really come back to it much. But again, that's kind of the benefit, honestly, of the Super Old Game Saturday concept, which is, and I was mentioning this a little earlier, which is, part of this is, again, bringing experiences to gaming that you guys might want to see, and also, in my case, going back to games that I hadn't played in a while or maybe didn't give a full completion. In fact, Metal Gear Solid was a case of that. I had trouble hearing my roommates are playing loud music. That's fine. Are they gamers? Or are they people who like gaming as well? Just out of curiosity. Can we get out the door? Okay, I'm dead. Alright, let's remove him or try to. Ooh. Yeah, that thing with the screen, that's weird. I don't think. Okay, no, there we go. Yeah, but. Oh, that was weird. The sword. Okay. Go in the door, go in the door. There we go. Casually. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if they necessarily take to a game like this specifically. Although, again, I don't even know if most people have heard of this game. And I mean, I'm in a sense as guilty as other people because I only heard about it when I bought this thing. And even now, even then, I didn't go back and play it until really right now. How was Final Fight? It went well. In fact, Final Fight was an interesting situation. I had I was mentioning when we did Turtles last week that it's an ancient release, so chances are there's no buddy doing the online aspect of it. There was someone who jumped into the online with me as I was playing, I think at stage 3. So I actually had an impromptu, co-op session of that game going. And we did beat it about 45 minutes, about the same time it took for Turtles last week. But, yeah, it did go well. We used Haggar for the run. And it was fun, but yeah, is he going to go? Oh. Is it going to be safe to walk over that? But yeah, Final Fight went well, and I was definitely glad to go back to it. So again, thank you for the recommendation. I really appreciate your viewership, also the games you suggest to me. Any of you suggest to me, for that matter. And again, as much as this is a case of me showing off some of the games I want to show off, I also want to show off what you want to see. And again, next week we're doing that with Metal Gear Solid, and I'm looking forward to that. And that's another case, as I mentioned, because again, I love Metal Gear Solid 1. It's a fantastic game, but I've never played it. I mean, okay, that's a lie. I have played it. I've never beaten it. Let me rephrase it. I played Metal Gear Solid. I've had that game for years for the PlayStation, but I've never beaten it, and I kind of want to use that opportunity to actually, fix that, wrong in my life. Because there's that situation, some people say, like, the idea of your gaming bucket list. Games you want to play and beat before, you reach your old age, and, we're going to get it's essential here at the end of your life. So I was like, well, I've never beaten Metal Gear Solid 1. I've beaten 2. I beat most of 3. But 1, no, and I love 1 to death. I mean, I would say that Metal Gear Solid 1 is, along with Castlevania Symphony of the Night, probably one of my favorite games on the PlayStation 1. That being said, I do want to look into something this week with that. I do want to do a little bit of practice with that and die here, but I do want to practice that game a little bit because I haven't played it in a while, and also because when I tested the connection earlier tonight, I was only getting mono audio, and I don't know why that was. It might have been something weird with that. I think I ran into that when I was doing, what was the last game I did for the PlayStation? I did Rayman, the original Rayman, which I have to go back to, by the way, because I didn't beat it. I only got halfway through it, and I guess that goes to what I was mentioning with Metal Gear Solid, which is I'm going to do that over 2 weeks, but again, if I don't beat it by then, we'll come back to it another time, because I do have other games that I've played and I haven't finished them that I have to go back to. In fact, off the top of my head, I think I have 4, which were Rayman 1 for PlayStation, Rayman 2 for Dreamcast, Mystical Ninja Storm Goemon for Nintendo 64, which I'm about halfway through, and then Fatal Frame for PlayStation 2, which is another viewer request. I'm glad they made it because I've had Fatal Frame for a while and I wanted to get to playing it, and that was a good excuse for doing it. I definitely want to go back to Fatal Frame and finish that, though. So we will do that later this year. And at that point, I also want to do the sequel, Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly, which I also have for the Xbox. But again, that's more of a, programming note and more of things I want to get to this year. Or things I want to go back to this year. Along with some of the projects I have planned. Again, the Supersonic Game Saturday being the main one. And then also whatever you guys want to see, which again was this one. And again, I do like the idea of, again, you guys coming up with suggestions. And again, giving me the opportunity to show you games you maybe haven't seen or maybe want to see. And in my case, finishing games that I really should have finished years ago. So in that case, it's alright. Alright, so I keep getting that Ninja Skills challenge, but again, I don't know if that's going to be happening. But we'll see. And again, I am kind of liking this game. It is pretty basic, but again, I do think it looks nice, it sounds nice. There is a Castlevania vibe to how it looks and sounds, and even plays as far as some of these platforming aspects. And again, another kind of underrated game. Because part of the... See, I don't know why it does that. First, you said you have this on PS3. You have been on PS3, I think it was, you said. Do you know why it does fast forward? Like, I was hitting the X button during that. Do you think it's like, this is like a cutscene fast forward or something? Because it doesn't say that it does. Oh. I mean, I'll try, I guess, the next stage. I think the idea is, like, I sometimes get into areas I'm not realizing, oh, that's the end of it. So, there we go. I really should also be timing the fire throw as well. In a while, no idea. It just seemed kind of weird, because at first I thought, like, is it a glitch in the game? But, I mean, I wouldn't think so. Actually, I think it might be, because I think the Dungeons & Dragons Chronicles of Mysteria collection does the same thing. I think. Okay. I was like, wait a second, what happened? Alright, we got a broadsword. Okay. I think there was an option for that in that collection as well, which was not ported by the same team that did this one, but I think that might have been what happened. At least I think. Alright, we are going pretty well on this so far. I guess it seems like... Okay, I've only been at it about 20 so minutes. It does seem like maybe it's a little longer if I'm going up this entire tower, because it looks like I am. But feasibly, I guess we might be skipping stuff in between. Okay, so I'm going by floors. So actually, in that way, it's kind of working off of Tower Drago logic. If any of you are familiar with that game, that's an experience. I remember showing that to some of my coworkers because we have something instituted, or when they were coming to the office regularly, we had something instituted, which was like a concept for Bad Game Thursday. It's the end of the week almost. We have our lunch break, and we have a Switch dock set up. And so we sometimes are like showing off games that are not very good. I remember we did like the sequel to Shaq Fu, The Legend Reborn. And I took that ball and I fucking ran with it. Because I was like, let me show you some of these weird games. Yeah, I showed him Tower Draga because of how old and clunky it is. It has its defenders, and I see why. I mean, there's definitely some values it has to it. But, I mean, yeah, it's a hard one to go back to. Maybe because also I didn't play it when I wasn't there for that one. I didn't play it when it was, around as new. And I think also they didn't really port that to many places until the PlayStation, actually, I think. Because most of the ports of that game did not get brought out to the US. I think it was on Famicom in Japan, and we didn't get it. And I think the only port was on PlayStation. For several years, like, what's this Tower Draga thing? I remember in that case, I was pulled into an argument by people saying, like, I love this game. Someone else said, I hate this game. It's like, we want you to be the tiebreaker. Who's right? And I was like, The person who said it was bad is right, but at the same time I'm thinking, well, the people who said they loved it made pretty good arguments for why. And actually, I'll say this. When I show my coworkers that game, I used the Namco Museum Arcade Pack for the Switch, which has available in that. And that collection, I didn't know this when I picked it up, but it has an option where it basically tells you where all the hidden items are on each floor, which kind of makes it a little easier. So I'm thinking, well, if anybody's going to be playing that game, that's the way to play it, because it tells you, like, oh yeah, where the jet poops are on level 2. Because otherwise, you're moving really slow. In fact, I think I remember I put it in front of a friend, and I said, I'll start playing this, and within, like, 20 seconds, he's like, nope, I'm done playing this. I don't want to play this anymore. I think someone else said, I know the point of this concept is supposed to be Bad Game Thursday, but I feel like you ruined my day. I was like, well, okay, I guess I succeeded too well at that perspective. But again, it was an interesting situation. Again, it kind of goes to sort of why I started doing this, which again is, part of it is because I haven't seen a whole lot of people, because people are either locked down, or they're on quarantine, or they're in the States, things like that. But at the same time, I just kind of wanted to show off, have this kind of communal situation with games. Like, for example, as you're saying, Electverse, which is Namco Museum Volume 3, so I played Namco's first time, except for Miss Pac-Man. Yeah, that was... Yeah, because there were 6 of those on the PlayStation, I believe. There's 6 in Japan. I think we got 5 of them, and I believe the 5th one in particular is really hard to find. I think they were releasing a couple games in each collection. I have the first one. I think 2, actually, it was 3 had Tower Draga, didn't it? I don't know if it was either 3 or 2, I think, had Tower Draga, one of those, on the PlayStation. Then years later, what happened is that all the Namco museums that came out later were just like a bunch of them within one. In fact, that's the one I have it in. It's the Namco Museum Virtual Arcade for the 360. Which, again, I could definitely show stuff off from that as well. Feasibly Tower Draga. We could feasibly have like a Namco night. That could be an interesting way to go about that. Volume 3. Okay, because it was Volume 3 had that. It had, what was it? I think it had Miss Pac-Man, it had Dig Dug. It had Galaxian, I think, didn't it? And there was a 5th one. I don't remember what the last one was. Oh, again, I technically haven't played the 3rd volume. I only have Volume 1 as far as that Namco Museum, and then the other Namco Museums I have are the Virtual Arcade for 360. I have the Game Boy Advance one, which is actually surprisingly good. And then I have, what's the other one? Oh, yeah, Volume 1. Yeah, Volume 1 for PlayStation, the Game Boy Advance 1, Virtual Arcade for 360, and Arcade Pack for Switch. Foes on pole position. Right, that was it. Yeah, I remember, yeah, because the first one didn't have pole position. The first one, I think, had Pac-Man, Galaga, Rally X, New Rally X, Toy Pop, and we had something else. Because I remember the Volume 1 was early in the PlayStation's life. And one thing I will say, as far as those PlayStation Namco Museum games, I guess we're going on the tangent here, playing a Capcom game, talking about Namco, but with those, I liked the museum, Busconian, okay, that was the other one. I liked with those Namco Museum collections where you're kind of going around, like, history of the games, and again, this collection right here is kind of doing some stuff like that with the vaults, but again, I just like the idea of, like, walking around, seeing, like, history information as far as, the games for that. I do have a couple of classic compilations we can show off that way. In fact, I want to show off one of these days. I do want to go back even further than some stuff we're looking at. I want to look at the Activision Anthology for PlayStation 2, which has a bunch of old Atari 2600 games of theirs. Stuff like the old Pitfall, and then other stuff like River Raid and Kaboom and things like that. But that's going to be a weird one to do because I'll have to mute the audio on that because there is licensed music that they added to that game, which is awesome. They add like all this great 80s music. They have like stuff from Blondie and Man Without Hats, and Twisted Sister, and Missing Persons, and Berlin. They have like a song from Berlin on there. I'm like, that's awesome. And I think there was a Namco Museum that did that as well on the PS2 and GameCube and Xbox. But unfortunately, we're on Twitch where I was like, yeah, I can't be blaring No More Words by Berlin off that, so I'll just have to mute the audio for that. And in some ways, I guess that creates a challenge for some games like that. Like, well, there's certain games I won't be able to show off that way, but I do want to figure out for certain things. That's going to be a simple one, though. Basically, just muting the music on that. Activision Anthology brings back memories. Yeah, I picked that one up really cheap. I remember, I think I got it for like $10, because I was thinking, like, all right, even though I'm kind of like, look, this show is retro gaming focused, but again, that's not necessarily saying like, oh, I won't do stuff that's newer. But despite that, I don't have a Atari 2600, which is something I probably should fix. But I picked that collection up, and it was a really nice situation. Although, when we get to that, I will definitely have to lament some of the controls with some of the paddle games, particularly for the room. Really hard to play with that analog stick, which you'd think would be a perfect substitute, but unfortunately not. But again, I did like kind of... I remember I was kind of going through like a classic game compilation, you know, high at that point, because they were all over the place in like the PS2, Xbox, GameCube era. Intellivision Lives. Yeah, I was just about to mention that. I bought Intellivision Lives for PS2 for $5 at a Best Buy. And I remember thinking, okay, this is going to be really cool. If that's one of those cases, though, I'd like to actually get this actual system, because the way the controls work, I thought, okay, they can replicate that on PS2 with the controller, but the way that worked, it was really hard to play that. But again, that's one I definitely could show up, because there's some games in there that are amazing, and there's also some games in there that, despite what I'm mentioning with the controls and it being really wonky with trying to work out the keypad control aspect, there are some that play really well in there, particularly Astro Smash and Thin Ice. And you also have that original, you know, like 80s style song they put into it, which, again, because see, this is, I guess, the weird thing when you talk about licensed music or licensed content as far as Twitch. Technically, I'm violating their terms of service right now by playing this game, because this is a game that Capcom owns. And actually, Capcom recently put out like a sense of like regulations of how they want to handle, you know, streaming games of theirs. So, I mean, I'm not violating that now as far as how I'm playing it, but again, by that standard, you think like, well, I'm violating it just anyway, so what's the difference with like a licensed music case? But again, with the Intellivision Lives collection, that's something they made for that game, so feasibly they could go about it. Oh, it was Intellivision collection. Yeah, that's the one that was on the PS1. I remember hearing about that. I don't know, was that any good? Did it, I guess here's the question, because if you're playing that, you have a familiarity with how the Intellivision worked, because the way the controller was, it was basically almost like a phone in the sense you have like a multi-digit keypad and like a little disc on the front of it. Did that game control better as far as it? Because we're enough. The thing I keep hearing from people, as far as the Activision stuff, or the Intellivision stuff, I should say, is the best way to play them outside of on the actual form factor is on the DS, because Intellivision Lives is on the DS, and I heard it was really, really good the way it played it, using the touchscreen. But I don't have a DS capture device, so I can't show... Oh, okay, so I don't have it on DS anyway, I have it on PS2, but I can't show that off unless I have a DS capture, and from my understanding, those run into money. And I don't know how those work, so I'd have to look into it. But again, is there a better like console take as far as how like Intellivision stuff controls outside of the original system? But then again, I should get Intellivision. It's the kind of thing that, if I'm big into this kind of thing, I should be figuring that out. And I guess figuring out, can I stream to it? Which, I don't know. I mean, I'll have to look into that, because most of the stuff I'm streaming with is at least composite. Although feasible, and I know there's RF for stuff on that. I would think, though, I could probably get like an RF to AV converter. So that probably would be the way to go about that. Ugh, I guess I got poisoned. I'm turning purple. Yeah, it's funny. There's this Sword and Sorcery Capcom Magic Sword game going on, and I'm going on in Intellivision and Namco and all this stuff. But as I mentioned, this has been in other Capcom collections, and I do like those Capcom collections they've been putting out. But again, there's only like one or two of them that have this. But again, it's like they did take a lot of opportunities with those to kind of give us some more obscure games, particularly the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle when that came out last year, which I gotta get that, because there's stuff on that that's never gotten home releases before. And when you tell me, oh, there's something that has that doesn't have gotten a home release and they're putting one out, I'm like, yeah, give me that now, just because I don't want to make sure that I don't lose that opportunity as we went over with Turtles last week. Although again, with Turtles, you still have the I guess not. As I mentioned with Turtles, we do have like the arcade one-up device. Yeah, that kind of Capcom being a bundle, they put that on sale all the time, as was mentioned. I seen that thing on sale for about like $10 usually. I'm gonna take a drink of my water. It's usually $20, which is not an unfair price for what's in it. But especially when they put it on sale, and they put it on sale a lot. I think it might be on sale on Switch right now, so it's one of those things like, yeah, just pick that up. And again, I think it's also on PCs. Oh, okay, I didn't touch the buttons that time. I'm not touching them there. So maybe it just works that way with the arcade version? I don't know. I mean, I guess the other way to be about this is if I got the Capcom collection that had it, which I think is Classics Collection 2 has it, and see if it does that. I don't think it does, and Final Fight didn't do that either, so that was kind of a weird case of that. Alright, so we got, like, weird, asteroid worms going into, like, asteroid wormholes. Okay, that's weird. But again, it is something unexpected. Oh, but I'm dead. And unlike Final Fight, I haven't run into people jumping in wanting to play this online. I guess it's because people don't know this game. But based on what I'm playing, I'm liking it. I mean, I don't know if I'd say this is like one of the best beat-em-ups I've ever played, but it definitely has a unique feel to it, and it looks and sounds really nice. And I do like just the aura that it brings in, so definitely gotta, you know, give kudos to Capcom on that one. I got a flame sword. Alright, so where are we? Because again, seems like this is going longer than Final Fight was, so at the very least, I think it was probably a good option to pick this. Oh, I got achievement. What's that? Ninja skill. Complete any area without losing health. Oh, even like the tiny ones. Wait, so there's the Activision version. Is that the one? That was the one from. That was the one that came out on the PlayStation and the N64, right? Because I remember there's a period like in the late '90s that I think that's the one, right? I haven't played it. Is it good? Because I know there's a lot of variances of remakes of Space Invaders that came around. Like even now, there's like Space Invaders Extreme. Okay, yeah, that's the one for PlayStation and Nintendo 64. No, I haven't. What'd you play it on? You play it on 64 or PlayStation? Which version do you recommend? It's good. Okay. Yeah, was it on PlayStation you played it or Nintendo 64? Because I mean, that's an interesting thing. When it comes to like picking up games now, because I have both PS1 or I have PS2 anyway, so I can play PS1 games on it, or I can pick it up on Nintendo 64, or PC as well. Yeah, I still have to figure out how I'm doing streaming for PC stuff. I'm gonna figure that out eventually. And when I do that, we're gonna go super old school into stuff I have on PC. I mean, we're gonna be talking like Microsoft Entertainment Pack and like that. So that's gonna be a fun time when I can do that. But yeah, so you know, maybe feasibly that. But again, just getting it running on a modern system is gonna be fun in itself. But yeah, I never played that version. But again, that was I remember hearing when that came out. That was the time when we had like remakes of things like Asteroids and Frogger and things like that. And some of them were not well received. I know the Frogger one in particular was not. But I remember the Space Invaders game being pretty well, you know, liked. It seems like it's more liked than, I don't know if you're familiar with this one, Space Raiders for the GameCube, which is a remake of Space Invaders, and I remember it was not well liked. Oh, okay, that. And then also there's Space Invaders Extreme, which I know is ported to a bunch of things. I think it was initially a PSP game. But yeah, I definitely, yeah, I should look into that. Because again, more of these kind of classic things. Because actually, I don't think I have a version of Space Invaders lying around anywhere. Because I don't have the Title Legends collection. I don't have the, I don't have Space Invaders Extreme. I don't even have, like, the Super Nintendo or Game Boy versions of Space Invaders. Which I remember the Game Boy version was interesting, where you put it in the Super Game Boy and it's literally the Super Nintendo version. They basically gave you that version like 2 years before they actually ported it to the Super Nintendo. One of the 4 games I got on my PS1 with my 6th birthday. Okay, what are the other 3? Do you remember? This little amoeba thing is on the top of the screen and kind of bugging me. But I do have like the fire sort of. Okay, yeah, we'll help you out. Just a second. Release me. Yeah, we will release you from your. Yeah, the rocks come down. I don't know what causes that, but again, more playtime with this. And feasibly, I would like to feasibly go back to this. So I'll be down with that. Here we go. All right, so we have 23 floors remaining apparently. Yeah, okay, it was ready that time, because some of those boxes apparently have swords that come out and stab you. Yeah, you want to avoid the poison water, so yeah, it is like... So in a lot of ways, it is like Castlevania. Proto-Rover, you weren't wrong. You're like, your first... Sometimes, you know, they say your first instincts are sometimes the right ones. Yeah, you're right. I mean, right away. Centipede, Atari Collection Volume 1, and Twister 2. Oh, right, right, that was the Arcade's Greatest Hits, the Atari Collection. Right, I remember that, because I have the Midway... I have the second one, which I think was the Midway Collection, which had Burger Time on it. In fact, that was probably one of the best ports of that on there. And then Centipede... I didn't play the Centipede game for the PlayStation either, but it was also on Dreamcast. I don't remember people liking it either place, but at the same time I was also thinking, well, if I'm going to play that or get it, I probably want to get it on the Dreamcast, honestly, just for the better stuff. And same, I guess, with Toy Story 2, although... Because I hear Toy Story 2 mentioned a lot as far as games that people have a lot of nostalgia for, but weirdly enough, I didn't play Toy Story 2. I played Toy Story 1 for the Super Nintendo, but I didn't play 2, so... Yeah, there's some other ones I might want to take a look at. And I know there's also Toy Story 3 that came out for, what was it? I think it was the Wii, PS3, and 360. And I think that game is actually backwards compatible with this thing, from what I understand. But again, as far as Centipede itself is concerned, not the remake, the original, yeah, I'm a fan of that one, certainly. In fact, I remember I first played that. Actually, I could show that off feasibly when I get the PC situation set up, because I had, I still have the disc for it, Microsoft Arcade, which is like a bunch of Atari games, and Centipede is one of them, and it played really well with a mouse. In fact, actually, that collection is kind of one of the best playing versions of all the games in it, even more than some of the other collection I have, because I have the Atari Anniversary Edition on the Dreamcast, which kind of is wonky with some of the controls, especially Crystal Castles. That's a game, I swear to God, you cannot play that without a trackball. God love them, they tried. Every time it gets ported somewhere, they try, and they almost make it. But then I play in the arcade, and like, yeah, you're not getting Bentley Bear to collect those gems easily unless you have that trackball. Funny as the PS2 came out on my birthday in North America, October 26th. Ah, definitely so. Definitely nice to have share a birthday that way. I mean, I remember like people like sharing a birthday with stuff like the Dreamcast, or with the PlayStation 2. Or even, like, some other systems as well. It definitely is always a nice thing when you can say, like, oh yeah, my birthday is the same day as either a release of a system or the release of a game. But again, I'm trying to think off the top of my head of people who I know who are like that, and what situations they came with. I think feasibly there's probably that, you know how they have, if you go online, you see, like, okay, what songs or what movies or whatever were top of the country when you were born. There's probably something for that for video games. I would think that there's a lot of options then coming around. Alright. Yeah, that's another Vault Award is telling me I missed, which is 500,000 points on level 30. Yeah, there are a lot of levels in this game, I'm noticing. So, credit where credit's due. I mean, it's definitely going a bit longer than Final Fight was, but again, also, to be fair, with Final Fight, part of that was because I had outside assistance that, again, it wasn't planned for, but again, it made me glad that I have my Xbox Live Gold account set. It was like, oh yeah, something I can jump into and realize, hey, there are people who want to play this. And I think this game is multiplayer too, at least as far as the arcade version is concerned. But again, like, yeah, people aren't going, but... And there is a little more strategy, I guess, as far as the game, because in some ways, it is a beat-em-up, or a hack-and-slash, I guess, but it's more of a platformer, too, because you're kind of having to take, different paths across some of these areas, which I guess for an arcade game is kind of advanced, especially for 1990. All right, 19 floors left. One thing I'm noticing as far as the fact that I'm collecting keys to open doors, I don't ever get the sense that I'm running out of keys, which I guess that makes sense with the arcade design philosophy of it, but at the same time I'm kind of wondering if it's something that I was, if maybe there's something I'm missing here, like, oh, I'm cheesing the game in a way I shouldn't. I mean, I guess I am in the sense I'm, doing the limited continues, but again, this is an arcade port, so feasibly I could be spending however much money in quarters to play this, or if I had a machine specifically, just play it and, you know, set it to auto, or set it to free play, not auto play. I think it's something else. Alright, let's find that sword. I guess find the orb they're talking about. I think at the beginning of the game they said there's something about this ancient orb you gotta find. Now, I guess the other thing I'm noticing is, yeah, I can go kind of left and right here. Oh, hey, God, what's the name of that thing? The icon from Bionic Commando. Not the Ichiden, something else. The Tadadachi, I think it is. Or, again, Chad, help me out on this one. What's that like power up that's in with the little swirly things in it? That's in Bionic Commando, which is also from Capcom. And also, for that matter, there's like there's like a hidden item for that in Mega Man, the first Mega Man, I should say. Because it's that. It's like, okay, so that's how I'm telling this is a Capcom game. There's like a special example of that thing. Fortunately, I got poisoned by the scorpion. Actually, I guess that's the thing with poisoning. You can't slice your weapon or use your weapon at all. Here comes the wolves. As I said earlier, look more like, I was mentioning, this has this feel similar to Golden Axe, although thinking about it, like, yeah, this doesn't feel really as much like Golden Axe as I thought it did. Like those, like dogs jumping around. That almost reminds me of like the Cerberus in Altered Beasts, which is a game I could show off at some point. Although yeah, that one, I'll have to figure out how I want to do that, because there is an arcade port of it, and I do have it in this Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection. But I don't remember if that is unlimited continuous, because the only way I beat Altered Beast as far as the Genesis version is concerned is by cheesing it in the 3DS version. Golden Axe. Yeah, I definitely want to do Golden Axe at some point. Trying to think about what the best way to go about that is, because I have a couple versions of it. I do have one in there's a what is it, the Sega Classics Arcade Collection for Sega CD, which I'd like to maybe play, but there is something with that version that's really weird, because if you don't know, when the Sega CD came out, it came bundled with a bunch of software, and one of the things is that it had like a classic arcade collection. Never could finish it. Yeah, actually, I never finished it either. At least I don't think I did. So that could be another situation of, yeah, let's make history with me and also relive good memories as far as all of you, or perhaps show off if some of you watching have never played it. But that version in that Sega Classics Arcade Collection was on the Sega CD, because it came with that, it came with Streets of Rage, it came with Columns, and it came with Revenge of Shinobi. And there was a later version that came with Super Monaco GP as well. They didn't have multiplayer in the Golden Axe port in that. And everything else in that collection that has two-player has it, but they didn't have it when they ported it over. I'm thinking, why is that? It's a port of a Genesis game, number one. The only thing that changed was some of the audio. Yeah, and it's doing that on its own with that speed up. I'm not touching it. Great drug mark, give me power. Release the Hydra from the Shadow World. Get to the last level is all of the jump. Oh, yeah, right. That's... Yeah, because, I mean, I'm jumping with this game a bit, but again, this is more platform jumping, whereas in the case of that one, it's like, oh, there's bottomless pits. So if you run into a situation like that, you know, you're not going to have a good time. Especially on the Genesis, where they give you limited continues. But again, when we show off Golden Axe, I'm not showing off that Sega CD version. I might be doing that with Streets of Rage when I do that, because I'm going to do Streets of Rage this year, because it's the 30th anniversary of that one. But with Golden Axe, I probably will just use one of the collections I have here. Or actually what I could do is, because I've been meaning to pick this up at some point, this would be another situation of that, get the Golden Axe, actually yeah, I probably should just do it that way, get the Golden Axe collection that came out for, it's on PS3 and 360, which has, it's the only still available direct port of the arcade game, from what I understand, so that's one I should pick up at some point. For that reason alone, because every other port of it is the Genesis version. And the only other ports to the arcade version are gone, because it was on Wii Virtual Console, and there was a 360 version, but then when they did the Golden Axe collection, they said, you know what, screw it, we have all three of them in here, we'll delist the old one. I'm like, okay, fine. Fair enough. But at least it's there. Right, I guess we're getting closer if it's getting, you know, nighttime at the tower, but we'll see. But again, I do love Golden Axe as far as that, and I'm liking this game a lot too. I mean, And in that case, it's kind of a nice thing to show it off for the purpose of this. Because as I said, part of the reason I do this each week is because I want to show off, games I have a nice, communal discussion with you guys. And, introduce, information as far as that I might not have known or you might not have known or whatever. But also games that might not have known. And I'm, in a sense, you've thought about doing Shinobi series? Yes, absolutely I have. I was mentioning that with Final Fight because there's certain areas in that where you have a dog walking around, or they're kind of just watching. I say like, hey, it's weird he's not getting involved in anything, and I thought of like Shadow Dancer, which is the one that has a dog. I do have access to, as far as Shinobi's concerned, I have the primary 4 of them. The first from the arcade, Shadow Dancer for Genesis, Revenge of Shinobi for Genesis, and Shinobi 3 for Genesis. And as far as the other Shinobi games, there was the 2 that were on the PS2, and there was the 3DS. There was the 3DS one, Shinobi 3 is my champ. Me too, and that's a weird case because I didn't play Shinobi 3 when I was growing up. I had a Sega Genesis, but I didn't play it. I played Revenge of Shinobi, but I didn't play Shinobi 3 until I think it was when the Sega Genesis collection came out on the PS2. That was the first time I think they'd ever ported that, and I played it. I said, it's one of those Genesis games. It's one of those Genesis games to me of Landstalker, where I was like, where has this game been all my life, and why did I not play it? But at the very least, I got to a situation where years later I played it. I absolutely want to play Shinobi for this, and I think I might start with 3, honestly, because 3 is my favorite. 3 is so good. I mean, 3 might be... I don't know if I'd say it's the best game on the Sega Genesis, but if it's not the best game on the Sega Genesis, it's at least in the top 10. Never played it till PS3, yeah, because they put that in... I remember, and this is the weird thing, because when the Sega Genesis collection came on the PS2 and the PSP, it had Shinobi 3 and it had Shadow Dancer. There was licensing reasons on why it didn't have Revenge of Shinobi, and I have to check if the versions I have of Revenge of Shinobi have any aspect connected with those licensing situations with it, but when they released the Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection for PS3 and 360, it only had Shinobi 3 in it, which was surprising to me because it had Shinobi 3 in it and it had the arcade version of the first one. But again, I was thinking like that seemed kind of weird. The Shadow Dancer wasn't in there. But again, then I think for the Sega Genesis Classics collection that's for this and for Switch and PS4, they brought it back, which I thought was pretty nice. But yeah, I mean, I discovered it late too. I mean, I guess I'm not the only one who discovered that one late. But again, when I did, I was like, yeah, I'm holding on to this game for dear life. This game is amazing. Especially, I mean, Proto-Rover, you're talking about music. You had Batman and Spider-Man. And Godzilla. Yeah, exactly. In fact, let's get into that just to talk about it. Revenge of Shinobi, what happened with that game, if you don't know, is that, at least in 1989, it was an early release for the Sega Genesis. And what happened was that Sega decided to put in bosses themed after Spider-Man, Batman, Godzilla, and actually the Terminator as well. Thing is, they didn't have the rights to any of those licenses at the time. Well, okay, they got the rights to Spider-Man a couple years later for the Spider-Man games they did on the Genesis, the Sega CD, the Game Gear, and the one on the 32X, which, we're not seeing that version because even though I have a 32X, that game goes for like $700 now. So unless I emulate that, you're not seeing it. But, point is that with Revenge of Shinobi, they didn't have the rights to it, so then DC, Marvel, Toei, and I guess Orion Entertainment released Terminator. They came knocking to Sega and said, okay, you get rid of this. And so what happened was that then Sega reprinted the game with all those references removed. But when they got the Spider-Man license, they reprinted the game again, so they had usage of Spider-Man in the game. So in that case, yeah, you still have access. You can tell that when you boot the game up because there's like a copyright for Marvel, or if you have a specific early revision of the cartridge, you can see that as well. And that was an interesting case of that, as far as that, because I didn't know that until years later. Because you never played Revenge of Shinobi, or if you have, you know this. It's really hard. I mean, Shinobi 3 is not an easy game, but it's definitely easier than Revenge of Shinobi is. Revenge of Shinobi is really difficult. So I didn't get far enough to even see that. In fact, I don't think I've even ever gotten as far as where Batman, Spider-Man, Terminator, and Godzilla show up. So at that point, it's new to me as far as having not seen that. But again, it's like, yeah, because of how hard it was. But again, it was a licensing situation that they took advantage of, or they put in without the rights, and well, you know how that ended up. But again, it is an interesting situation to how that went. I guess it shows, if nothing else, what some of Sega's PS2 Shinobi sucked. Because there were two of them. There was the first one, which I remember I've heard some people tell me that's really good, but then I know there was Nightshade, which came out in 2004. I heard that wasn't very good, and also Nightshade had the unfortunate timing of coming out right when Ninja Gaiden came out for the Xbox, which is that's an amazing game. That's a game I can show off, and that's a game I think I've been requesting a couple of times by people. So at some point I want to show that Ninja Gaiden game off. But yeah, Nightshade, I heard that was bad, but I'd heard mixed things on the PS2 Shinobi, but I never played it. Honestly, even though you're telling me it's bad, you're kind of piquing my interest to kind of want to play it, only to see if it really is that bad. Because, just full disclosure, here's the thing about this channel, is that I'm playing retro games, but at the same time, it's not necessarily going to be for retro games that are good. And one of the concepts I've liked to explore with people is the idea of games that are either bad, as I've mentioned with people, or games that are debatably bad, where I know people who really like them and people who really don't. So honestly, in that way, playing Shinobi for PS2 might be an interesting case of that. Actually, going to the Sonic stuff I'm going to be doing this year, after we do Knuckles Chaotix and after we do Sonic the Fighters and Dr. Robotnik's B&B Machine, I'm going to do Shadow the Hedgehog. So, and I'm going to have to do some off-screen work for the way I'm going to play it for this. Basically, the way I'm going to play that game is I'm going to have the final story unlocked, and then we're going to go through one playthrough of that game, and you guys, I hope you guys show up for that, because it's going to be up to you to tell me what mission I'm going to play. And I'll take whatever mission it is, and if it aggravates me, fine, but we're going to do it. So that's where we're going to handle Shadow the Hedgehog, and then after I go through one playthrough, we're going to do the final story. But my point is that with Shinobi for PS2, you're telling me it's a bad game? I'm like, sounds like a challenge. And again, we can, kind of, commiserate and have stuff going on. I wouldn't mind seeing Ninja Gaiden Expect to Die. Yeah, that's true. Well, then again, that's always been the case with Ninja Gaiden, because Ninja Gaiden is insanely hard. Even on NES, it's really hard. And actually, in Ninja Gaiden on Xbox, you can unlock the 3 NES games, and from what I understand, they're almost impossible to get. But again, it's like, I mean, I guess if nothing else, if me playing this, me playing Turtles, me playing some of the other stuff that you've been seeing me play is any indication, I'm not nervous to die in gaming. So let's put it that way. I'm not nervous to die in games, and for a game like that, especially a game I haven't played in a while, because I have Ninja Gaiden for Xbox, but I haven't played it in years, so I'd be a little out of practice. And also, as far as the version of that, because here's a weird thing. Well, I can't think of another reason to go about this, and you're seeing basically the same thing what this is, so it kind of goes that we're kind of just jumping all over the place as far as topics and things and games. Ninja Gaiden, the first game, the first one as far as the new ones for the Xbox, came out in 2004, and they did a couple of DLC packs for it, free DLC, and then what happened is the year after that, they released Ninja Gaiden Black, which was the same game basically as before, except they added some extra stuff. The stuff that was in those 2 Hurricane packs. So nowadays, with Xbox Live turned off on the original Xbox, that's the only way you can get those Hurricane packs. So I think did some tweaks to the cameras and things like that. But at the same time, the Ninja Gaiden Black game came out, and it had more stuff. But then when they did the backwards compatibility for the Xbox One, they made Ninja Gaiden Black backwards compatible, not the one I own. So yeah, we're going to be doing original Xbox for that one. Okay, main gimmick of it, I'm going to assume Shinobi for PS2. Use Akujiki is alive. You have to kill enemies to keep from killing you, and the more you kill, the more powerful you get. Yeah, I remember when I read about it or heard people, they're saying it had a combo system. I think it was the Tate combo system. Basically, you're kind of just going around trying to hit everything, or hit enemies in like a chain without touching the ground, and then when you do like a pose, and then they slice in half. Which seemed like a cool concept, but I also I remember when it came out, the other thing people were saying is that it's really hard, and it's also really, unlike Ninja Gaiden, because again, I played Ninja Gaiden, so I'm familiar with that one. I heard it's really cheap, because a lot of cases you're under, and this might be what you're talking about, like first, which is the idea that I've heard the stories on that game that you're mostly over bottomless pits through that. Whereas, I mean, Ninja Gaiden does not have a whole lot of, well, fine, Ninja Gaiden Xbox does not have a lot of situations where you're over bottomless pits like that. The NES game sure as hell will, but Ninja Gaiden Xbox doesn't as much. So I can imagine doing that in a 3D game, and also, especially if the camera's not up to snuff, which I've heard some people say it isn't for Shinobi. I mean, they said that with Ninja Gaiden, but I think also they said that with Shinobi. If that's the case, I'm like, yeah, that would be definitely a bit of a buzzkill. But again, I think Shinobi's pretty dirt cheap from what I understand on PS2, so for the experience, and also because it's a Sega game I never played, I would definitely be willing to invest in that for the channel and give you guys a look, even if it's only for you to come back and say, like, God, I hate this game, here's why, here's this part that burned, you know, horrible memories into me from childhood, which again, that's going to be some of the stuff I played. I mean, that was what I played last year when I did Pac-Man 2. You kill enemies if you want a chance against the bosses, always do any damage. I waited centuries for one such as you. Only the pure and brave man is a fit sacrifice for my lord Drokmar. Drokmar? Alright, so we gotta beat this guy. You kill enemies if you want a chance against bosses, always do barely any damage. Okay, so you basically... Okay, so what you're telling me then is that it makes it so that basically you have to be in combat pretty much the entire time, and then it docks you points if you're trying to run past it. Okay. That's weird. I can't think of a game that's done that. I mean, I know at the time there was, because there are a lot of other Ninja games along with, in the early 2000s, like, again, with Ninja Gaiden and Shinobi, or that Shinobi anyway. I remember the Tenchu games kind of were making their marks around there. I remember with that game, that's something you could feasibly just go through the entire level without killing anyone, or fighting anyone. But then again, I think that was part of the design of that. It's like, oh yeah, you want to be stealthy. But even with that, it's still something that, again, I've never heard of a situation where you have, you know, you have to fight enemies, and if you don't, you're going to be at a massive disadvantage for a boss. Okay, so we have only one floor remaining. Alright. One with Drokmar's palace. Go straight ahead if you want to find the Black Orb. Our Lord is awaiting you. Never played Nightshade. I heard it was not very good, and actually I think Nightshade might be the more expensive one, so I'm going to do that. It's weird, because with Nightshade, Sega didn't really talk much about the idea that really being a follow-up to that Shinobi game. I mean, it was even like a different character. I think you could unlock Joe Musashi as a character. I think you could also in the PS2 game. But Sega didn't really admit, it seemed, or they weren't as open really about the idea of, oh yeah, that's a Shinobi game. So maybe there's something they were trying to tell us on that one. I mean, I don't think Nightshade is insanely expensive as far as it is. I mean, it's not Blood Will Tell. Blood Will Tell is like probably one of the most expensive Sega games I've ever seen. That goes for like $200. It was a game on the PS2, which I think was based on the manga Dororo by the guy who made Asteroid. Tazama. God, I don't remember his name. Alright. Find and kill Drokmar. So this is him. Alright. Well, I'm pretty nuisance so far, but now I'll confine all light within the Black Orb. Then it'll have ultimate power. Alright, so I guess this is the final boss. Feasibly, so just hitting him. Okay, now we have a life bar for him. Alright. That's neat to have, but again, I am getting myself shown 3DS, never finished like better showing PS2. See, that's funny, because when the 3DS came out, that was a very, very, very early release for that system. I think it was launch year when it came out. I didn't have 3DS until years after, but I always did want to play it, and I remember hearing pretty good things, or some people thought it was okay. But again, it's like the idea of a new Shinobi kind of got my attention. I think that's the last Shinobi game we've gotten as far as the new ones are concerned. I don't know if it sold well, because I saw it on clearance a lot back in like the mid-2010s. So I'd go to Target and used to see copies of like for 10, 15 bucks. But again, it's one I always wanted to play. So maybe I should. And again, it's probably dirt cheap. It probably costs less than Shinobi on PS2. And if you're telling me it's better, I mean, that in and of itself also probably gets my attention right there. Alright, so just killing Drokmar here, and I guess just, again, war of attrition is what we're doing here, people, because we're just slicing, slicing, slicing. I'm not really worrying too much about getting hit, I guess. Which, I mean, I guess makes it a good game to kind of do a, do a discussion like this for, just go over all over the place as far as discussions. Like, oh yeah, I can just keep slicing and eventually I'll win because I have unlimited continuous. So that's done. Stars Joe's Father Hero. Yeah, oh, the 3DS one. Yeah, I like the style of how it looked. It seemed really interesting as far as how it was. So I should definitely check that out. Because again, if you couldn't tell, I mean, I'm clearly a big Sega person. I guess you guys are too. In fact, I know you guys. I mentioned it before. So I'll be set for that. Alright, so here he is. He's done, I guess. Alright, achievement. Save the world. Can't believe it. So close to my ultimate victory. This black orb is a talisman of evil power. With it, you could have eternal life and control of the world. Take it in your hand and become a god. Now, what do you want to do? Yes or no? Should I take it? Actually, you know what? I'm going to try something. I'm saving right here. Okay, I didn't take it. I was saving there for a reason, because... Oh yeah, epilepsy warning, sorry, I didn't notice. But, yeah, alright. Yeah, because there's an achievement based upon which one you do. So I said no, or I let it go to no, so I guess we destroyed it feasibly. So it's like... I'll tell you what it's like. I guess it's like, Streets of Rage. I guess in that case, when I do Streets of Rage... wait. Oh, that was weird. Okay, so it just went back to the main, screen. Okay, it didn't let me even finish typing it in. Okay, kind of an inauspicious, situation here. Okay, so, Mars Black Orb was destroyed, and darkness was lifted from the Earth. Even vanquished, for now. Alright, so... Okay, so that actually was a nice one as far as adding... You know, more to this, you know, playing of night. But again, like first, you requested Final Fight. I'm not letting you leave empty-handed without having seen it. We're going back to Final Fight briefly. And, so, in that case, that's how we'll go about that. Because, again, you requested this game, and I thank you very much for your request and for your, viewership. And I do like the discussions that we're all getting into. And, again, that's kind of me, again, me realizing what I want out of this channel, which is, again, I basically see this, as I mentioned, just as the idea of, like, a bunch of your friends, or a bunch of people just sitting around on a Saturday night, perhaps having, like, a drink or something, just kind of just chilling, and just having a fun time with games, and kind of just exploring our memories with games, maybe making new memories, and saying, like, hey, this looks cool, I want to play it, or saying, like, hey, I played this game, or hey, I want to see this game. We're going back to town, and, yeah, it looks like we're good. Actually, I want to do one thing before we go to, not Streets of Rage, we'll do that at some point later. Magic Sword, I want to see one thing. No, fine, we'll do that. I'm going to load it up again, I want to see if it's saved quickly. Oh! Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. It gives you the option to kind of... Oh, wait, let me see. Oh, okay, I guess the load didn't take. Never mind. Okay, so I didn't save it in time. Never mind. At least I don't think it did. Okay. Alright, so, alright, we showed Magic Sword, we showed off Final Fight, we're going to show off Final Fight again. Very briefly, you know what, we'll take a brief run, probably about a couple minutes. We did I played this with Guy, I played with Haggar last time, let's play as Cody. Okay, that's the achievement for this, Cody Pendant. If you complete all levels with him, but we're not doing that. Alright, so again, I mentioned what this was before, but again, for the purpose of the person who requested it, and since it's here now, I'm giving you the game you asked for. You asked for this game, I wouldn't feel right to leave you without it. Same like if next week, okay, I think it was Protorova, you asked me for Metal Gear Solid next week, we're going to do Metal Gear Solid next week, and the week after that, so... Say, if you were not here for that, I'd want to make sure that, oh yeah, you're going to be able to get your fix of the game you asked for, because without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. Again, it's not much. I mean, a lot of people saying, like, well, there aren't a whole lot of people watching, which is fine. I mean, you know, that's okay. I mean, I just like the idea that there's a people we can, you know, chill on Saturday with the old game. And again, if there's stuff you want to see, again, I'm happy to do it for you, while also showing off things I have that I want to show off for one reason or another. Even if it's a game that's not very good, even if it's a game that I, again, I'm not a huge fan of. Again, you guys might be. You might be curious about what that was. I mean, the Pac-Man 2 playthrough. I'm never going to forget that. And that was a weird case, just to go back into that a little bit, because I did Pac-Man 2, The New Adventures last year, which, if you've ever played that game, it is nuts. And not in the good way. Because it's basically a point-and-click adventure game where you have to basically keep Pac-Man's, mental state and his depression level up, or make it so he doesn't get depressed. I realized a problem with trying to pull it from the Genesis cartridge I have, so I had to do an emergency situation for that. I was like, I want to show this game off to people. I bought it on the Wii U Virtual Console, which is the Super Nintendo version, and I realized, okay, I should have played it on the Genesis. I should have tried and figured out that situation a little more, because, man, it's even worse on Super Nintendo. But, again, that's not a very good game anyway, so that's the other aspect. Okay, let's get back to Final Fight, because, again, beat 'em up, Capcom, released in 1989, again. Definitely was kind of a precursor to what Streets of Rage would do. I think Streets of Rage is better, but again, for a later game, this is still a fun one. And again, initially it was a spin-off of, or it was going to be a spin-off of Street Fighter 1 in particular, because 2 wasn't out. But they said, oh, it's too different, so we're just going to go its own way. But again, you had characters who would end up in the Street Fighter franchise later, like Haggar. I think Cody was in Street Fighter Alpha. But then you also had situations where, when this got ported to Super Nintendo, they had little in-references to Street Fighter 2. I think it was Chun-Li eating ramen noodles in one level. Which, again, is not in this version, because Chun-Li had not technically existed yet. Because, again, Chun-Li was not in Street Fighter until Street Fighter 2. She was not in Street Fighter 1, which is, yeah, that's an experience, especially if you play the TurboGrafx CD version of that, where you have these really weird voice samples that go with it, where you have, like, it sounds like they recorded them in a well or something, where you're like, I swear to God, that's exactly what it sounds like. And you're like, what kind of voice acting is that? But again, TurboGrafx voice acting, which is definitely kind of a weird situation when you go back to that. If you ever played Last Alert, there's like, and even though the idea, like, they don't translate the dialogue right, or they don't speak the dialogue right, where they have, like, the character saying, people will hate you, Steve, if you're too stingy. But they meant to say stingy, so that doesn't work. Although then again, you even have, like, Sonic Heroes that does that, which my favorite line in Sonic Heroes is from Tails, when he says, look at all those Eggman's robots. They have it on the screen, and the voice actor, who I think was 5, from what I understand, spoke out the dialogue wrong, and they kept it in the game. Actually, in that case, I kind of want to show off Sonic Heroes at some point, so I'll have to figure out if I can do that for the Super Sonic Game Saturday situation this year, because I think I have most of my itinerary lined up for that, I think. In fact, I'm going to get a game over. The other thing I'm going to do while I wait to come back is I'm going to pull up the list of what I was going to play for that, or what I was planning to play, because again, it's going to be more than 12. It's at least one a month, but again, it's going to end up being more than 12. I want to see what I have on my itinerary. Well, yes. Yeah, there's, that's Roxy, right? Yeah, it's Roxy. Yeah, I went into before the idea of, like, some of the stuff with poison. Alright, so I got a game over, so I'm going to continue while, again, he's, blowing that fire out. But there we go. So let's get up my document here. Again, you guys can't see this, but I'll have it all set. And I'm letting them beat me up so I can pull this up and see what we got here. Alright, so we did Sonic CD last month, so that, or this month, so, okay, it seems like last month, doesn't it? But, okay, we did Sonic CD, we're doing Knuckles Chaotix in February. In March, we're doing Sonic the Fighters and Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. We're going to mostly look for Mean Bean Machine on the Genesis version, as I mentioned. So, again, I'd like to first thank you very much for listening, and I will definitely be glad to fulfill that. I also have other ones. I haven't decided the orders of these yet, except one of them, but Shadow the Hedgehog, I do want to do that. I think we do need to see Sonic 06. I don't think it would be right to just go through this without, dealing with that, because I do have it. So we'll have to take a look at that one. Sonic 1, I'm going to do that in June to celebrate the 30th anniversary, and what we're going to do with that one is, it's going to be the Genesis version, but it's also going to be the Game Gear version. So we're going to be using the Sonic's the Sonic Mega Collection Plus to do that, because there's both versions. Now I was thinking I want to do the Sonic Adventure games to a degree, and then Sonic 3 Knuckles, I'm definitely doing that. I was thinking 3D Blast. I might have some outside help to do the Sega Saturn version on that, if I can make that happen. And then, I definitely want to do Tails Adventure, which is one of my favorite games on the Game Gear. Which, again, not a traditional Sonic game, but have a Contra. Yeah, because I do have the Contra collection for the Switch. That's admittingly my experience with Contra, as far as the ones I've played. I don't know if there's other ones that are better. I mean, because admittingly my experience with Contra is pretty limited, too. I only really played the first one, sort of, the stuff that's in the collection. The fourth one, hardcore, because I have a couple of mini... I have the Genesis Mini that has it. And then it's in that collection as well. And I know there's some on the PS2. There was the ones on the PS1, which I heard are awful. There's Neo Contra on the PS2, which is not huge on. And I know there's a Hardcore Uprising, which they didn't name Contra, but it's downloadable for PS3 and 360, but... And there's Contra 4. I think Contra 4, actually, I think is the first... Not Contra 4, Contra 3. I think Contra 4, because Contra 4 is the one on the DS. It was by the people who made Shantae, which era was amazing. But 3 was the first one I played, because I think one of my roommates in college had it. He bought the Wii Virtual Console. Hardcore is your favorite. Yeah, I liked Hardcore very much of what I played of it, but... Oh my god, it's insanely difficult. Yeah. Protorova, you were asking about Ninja Gaiden before. But, well, boy, this makes Ninja Gaiden look like... Oh, Christ, I don't know. I'm not saying no, I'm not doing it. I mean, absolutely I'm going to do it. I'm not afraid to look bad playing a game like that. And a game like that is so hard, I think people will understand, like, yeah, I'm not going to be doing it perfectly. But, yeah, I would kind of like to do hardcore to a certain extent. But again, I've got options as far as what I want to do with those as well. But again, I have all those within the Contra Anniversary Collection. So that would be the way I would go about it. But again, the reason I'm going with Sonic in particular is just because, as far as a monthly thing with that, is because this is the 30th anniversary of the franchise this year. And I would think it's worth dealing with. That, and also the fact that, again, Sonic formed a very strong part of my childhood. Alright, now we're at the bonus stage. Play Mario, play Ninja Gaiden. That's true. But even then, sometimes it's like, the idea of that being difficult. But again, we're back to destroying the car. Can we destroy it again? I think we can. So to go around to the other side. That's true, you do have to play smart for Ninja Gaiden. It kind of reminds me in a weird way of, like, the, Angry Video Game Nerd episode they did on Ninja Gaiden. The NES one in particular, which is saying that the game is just a machine. A human has, able to do stuff. Come on, let's destroy this car. Come on. Oh, alright. Yeah. Alright, so yeah, unfortunately he didn't come out and say, oh my god, like he did last time. Actually, you know what, the way I'm going about this, I almost wonder if I should just beat this game one more time. Again, I know it's, might be potentially redundant, but again, like first you came late, you want to see this game, I think we should. You know what, why not? Again, because we only were like an hour, not even, or barely, for last week. Let's, go a little more marathon. There'll be more marathon next week because we're doing, Metal Gear Solid. Haggar Uprising was interesting. I wanted to make Arc System mission. Yeah, that was, the one thing about that I always found interesting is that Konami released it. And again, Arc System Works, you mentioned, people made Blaze Blue and also made Dragon Ball FighterZ, which that's a game I'd love to show off. Even though it's a newer game, I'd love to show that one. They didn't call it Contra for some reason. I'm surprised they didn't name it that way. And also the other thing I was surprised of is when that game came out, which I think was 2010, I think. Konami did not re-release the old one. I'd have thought, they'd have re-released it by then, but it took until like 2 years ago when the Genesis Mini and the Contra Collection came out for them to ever re-release it. I love Blaze Blue. Yeah, here's the weird thing, I'm trying to remember if I played Blaze Blue. I don't think I have, but from what I understand, Dragon Ball FighterZ plays almost exactly like it. I mean, same people as well. If that's the case, I would think, well, yeah, I'd love to play that game in particular. And I guess feasibly, like, that was kind of like 2D sprite-based fighters, although I guess with Blaze Blue, I mean, it is sprites, but it's different kind of sprites than something like this, or something like Marvel vs. Capcom, or Street Fighter, or something like that. Or even, like, Mortal Kombat. So, in that case, yeah. What's the best Blaze Blue, would you say? And I guess what's your experience with it, then? You may as well keep this going, as, again, we're going through the game again. We're going through this game again. But again, it shouldn't take too long. Go. There we go. There's the pipe. Again, whether it's Streets of Rage or whether it's this one, I do like the pipe always because you have a nice range. I don't know, there's something kind of cathartic about hitting someone with the pipe in a way that even like the knife or the sword doesn't quite do. Andore Jr. is still hitting me. A nice reference there to Under the Giant, but again, Capcom changed it feasibly, I guess, because, you know, they didn't want to... I guess that idea of, like, the satirical aspect, which I think is also what they did with Saturday Night Slam Masters, which actually has Mike Haggar from this game in it. I've heard that game is really, really good as far as wrestling games are concerned in 16-bit era. Or in the 16-bit era, I should say. That I'm getting carried away. But I do have my selection of weapons to beat the Andre the Giant brothers feasibly. Can you throw? Okay, you can. Actually, I went through the first time I was playing this earlier. I think I went through the whole game without throwing a single item. But again, you can, pressing forward and pressing the attack button. But I literally got choked out. I'm still alive. For a minute, I thought I was going to be dead. I was dead. Hey, what? Okay, maybe I can't throw that. Can I throw that? No, I guess not. First experience with BlazBlue is Calamity Trigger. The first one for PS3 I thought was good, and the best would be Continuum Shift. What is Continuum Shift on? I think that was on... It was what, PS3 and 360 for that one? I think there were a couple that were only on PS3, and I think then later came to 360, if I remember correctly, but I don't remember in particular. There's Poison again. And I mentioned before the case that Capcom was trying to figure out, like, hey, we don't want to be in a situation where, you know, you're hitting a woman like that, but then they said, like, oh, yep, all of them are on PC as well. Okay. Which was an interesting case, because I remember with BlazBlue, when I saw it on PC, it was like, the thought of fighting games on the PC was kind of a strange thing, particularly within, like, the PS2, GameCube, Xbox era, but then it seems like now people are more used to it, because we've had, like, the Mortal Kombats have come out on that, and I guess with the advent of controllers feasibly for PC, which is weird, the idea of, like, people want to play with a mouse and keyboard for, like, shooters and things like that, but for a fighting game or something like that, it's like, yeah, a good either arcade stick or, like, a gamepad is kind of the way they want to go about it, or a 360, PS3, PS4, Xbox One pad, feasibly. That is gum. Okay, well, at least that gave me some health. Well, it's the Ed E? Yeah, or Ed D E, okay. Yeah, I mean, definitely in that case, like, there are definitely certain franchises I haven't played as far as anything, whether it's a fighting game, whether it's beat 'em up, whether it's any genre you care to name. But again, I'm always up for recommendations and stuff, because again, I think I've been recommended BlazBlue by some people before, and I've seen it. It looked appealing. Again, it kind of plays to some of my love of stuff like Marvel vs. Capcom and things like that. So in that case, I'd definitely be curious to take a look at it. And again, Fighter Z, I guess, was kind of like a bit of a, I guess, of a primer for that. Because I really, really, really liked Fighter Z. As someone who has a knowledge base of sorts to Dragon Ball Z going back years, I just really liked just the idea that it seemed like that was the one that really kind of nailed the feel of the, like, what those fights would be like, and just had the gameplay and the controls to back it up in the way that even, like, the Budokai games didn't. I love the thing with the Budokai games on the PS2, and then later I think they were on the GameCube, is that I loved the way it presented itself. I loved, like, the voice acting. I loved the graphics. I loved the sound and all that. It felt exactly like playing the show, but the gameplay just kind of didn't do it for me. I mean, especially compared to, like, other fighters at the time, like Dead or Alive 3, Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, and Soul Calibur 2 especially. Or even Soul Calibur 1. But again, like with Fighter Z, they really nailed it. If you play, I'm going to warn you, the story's complicated. It makes Kingdom Hearts make sense. That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, then again, I guess that's an interesting case, because when you think about it, fighting games usually were not known for their story, but I guess with that game, and actually with the modern Mortal Kombat, and even to a certain extent, some of the older ones, those kind of put the focus on that. In fact, I remember when Fighter Z came out, people were saying, like, they didn't like the story mode on that, to which I was saying, like, look, maybe my problem with that, or maybe my excuse to that was that I just played Soul Calibur 6, which plays fine, but story mode seems like it's just, like, text-based, and, like, there's barely anything to it, whereas at least with Fighter Z, there's cutscenes and things, but again, with the complication as far as Blizzard, I mean, I guess here's the thing, with BlazBlue, it's probably like Kingdom Hearts, you have to kind of get into it at the very beginning, otherwise you're going to be totally lost. And I guess feasibly, if BlazBlue has spin-off games, like Kingdom Hearts, where you have, side spin-off games, they're still canonic to the franchise. So it's funny, when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, thinking back with that franchise, I thought, okay, finally, after all these years, we're getting third game. And then we got Melody of Magic, which is the music rhythm game that came out last year. Fans will tell you stories not told well. BlazBlue or Fighter Z? Because I mean, maybe the thing with Fighter Z is that I know it's based off Dragon Ball Super. So in that case, I was like, yeah, I didn't get into Super or see much of Super. I think until what was it? The Super Broly movie came out like 2 years ago. BlazBlue. I guess what is it? Just the presentation of it, the voice acting, all of them. I mean, I guess maybe the thing is, like, I'm thinking like what the gold standard feasibly as far as like a fighting game story mode is concerned. Honestly, I think like Mortal Kombat 9, 10, 11 seem to be pretty much the de facto way to kind of tell a story as far as within the context of a fighting game. I think I've shown off to some people 10 in particular as far as Mortal Kombat's concerned. Then the idea is like everybody's kind of trying to go for that. But then with Soul Calibur was always a weird one how they did that, because always it's kind of like the text-based thing, but it was like, well, I'm on Xbox One, PS4, PC with the sixth game, and I'm thinking, well, it should be maybe presented a bit better, but again, it's not maybe like the story's bad, just as like, I just wanted some cutscenes and stuff, whereas I don't know how BlazBlue does it, or maybe it's also the kind of thing that maybe because of it being a 2D game that changed things. Back to Rolento. This, by the way, when we played it the first time earlier tonight, was where I had a jump in with another player who jumped in as Cody. I was Haggar, but apparently not. So many terms you expect to know, it's complicated. Okay, so basically, pretty much you have to have your own, you have to have the BlazBlue dictionary in order to know what certain things are. Okay. And I guess they established that early on, and they expect you to understand, like, what certain concepts are. Which I guess makes sense to a certain extent, but again, what about it? It does question how the approachability of the franchise might be, or at least from a story perspective. Because gameplay-wise, I mean, it's probably not super difficult to understand if you played if you played a lot of 2D fighters, I would think, or feasibly in my case, if you played like Fighter Z. Now let's punch the glass again. Okay, so we didn't do the car correctly, but we got the glass taken care of here. Got extra points. Right, over to the bear. Okay, actually, no, yeah, you know what? There's only 2 levels left anyway, so yeah, we're going to finish this game, and then we'll have that go through. And again, as I said, for you recommending this select verse, you get to see the game you picked. Involves time travel, alternate dimensions, getting us. Yeah, I mean. And spoiler warning if you haven't played Sonic 06, where there's time travel in that game. But I mean, I guess that raises an interesting question. I'll put this out to chat just in general, which is, can you think of what are some cases of time travel in game stories where it's been done in a way where you feel as if it's not something that, oh, it comes off weird or awkward or confusing? Yeah, I guess BlazBlue isn't one of those, but I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily like it does badly. It's just you're saying like the way it presents it and the fact there's so much there, it's easy to get lost. So it's overwhelming more than anything. There's that barking dog, which I mentioned as far as getting the idea of Shadow Dancer and Shinobi. Yeah, like what are some ideas as far as the time travel? I don't know if. I guess let's talk Final Fight then. As far as that, I don't think Final Fight ever did time travel unless you want to count. Okay, this was time travel. Streetwise is not time travel. People tell you it is because Streetwise didn't start as a Final Fight game, and it was apparently really bad. As in, potentially worse than Sonic 06 did. But, or maybe more of like a Shadow the Hedgehog bad in the sense of, yeah, kind of mocking the franchise and going mature in it. Going too mature in that direction with it. The cutscenes brand of visual novel and not all oh. Okay. So it's also a presentation thing, which is kind of what Soul Calibur 6 had the same problem with. And it's also something it was always my pet peeve on the PS2 as far as like RPGs and things like that, which were some of the dialogue would be voiced, but then some of it wouldn't, or a lot of it wouldn't. I was saying like, well, on the PS2, by that point we should be able to have that set, I would think, but apparently not. But I mean, okay, so it's part of a presentation thing, and then it's also maybe just the idea of like how they tell it. I mean, I guess if I'm thinking like story with time travel, where it really kind of goes, all right, take your time. But I guess if I'm thinking just to go into this as far as like story idea of a game that I guess people don't complain about the time travel concept, Chrono Trigger, probably, I would think. That's definitely where people say, like, no, yeah, they definitely got that one right. And that's one I can do as well. I have it for the PlayStation, though, so that's going to be the version we're going to do, as opposed to it on Super Nintendo. Which is the same as Super Nintendo, except it has loading. Or it has more... No, it has loading. Most ones are thinking, got it. Oh, okay. Well, that's not... Okay. That's not too bad of a thing, though. I mean, if they're doing that for effect. But again... If you're having if you have voice acting in a bunch of places, particularly for like on PS3, 360, things like that, you'd want the whole game for this, basically. Alright, actually, I guess while I'm just going through this again, I'm noticing the way Cody does that jump, it sounds almost like he's, I don't know, sick? It's kind of weird. Again, this does seem more like the Cody than the Cody in Streetwise in particular. I mean, I've seen how Streetwise does it. I mean, Streetwise is weird. Let's go back into Streetwise from what I've understood. Streetwise is pulling from Fight Club, of all things, which seemed like, again, works for Fight Club, the movie, or hell, even the game based on Fight Club, because, like, the movie's awesome. The game, but, at least the tone seems consistent, where with, Final Fight Streetwise, like, yeah, we're going that kind of, like, really dark, grungy kind of, I guess, maybe totalitarian perspective, and it just doesn't work. I mean, this one seems like it's kind of more in the direction of, like, what I would take. It's like, oh yeah, we're in the streets, we're seeing, like, graffiti on the bathroom walls, and there's, like, guys you're beating down, like an evil syndicate. Again, how Streets of Rage. Whoop. And filled with Guns N' Roses references and other music references too. I was hoping I could throw them into the trash can, the last knot. I do love how when you just do that jump kick and then you just all kind of fall down that way. Ooh. Actually, I've noticed we have a time limit, but honestly, it's never really coming into effect for this one. Or this, or even Streets of Rage, I guess is why eventually Streets of Rage got rid of it. With 3 and for 4 in particular as well. Yeah, I'm inching forward because I don't want to eat that thing until I know that we're good. Alright. There's another one, but... Oh, that's Hollywood. Okay, it's like, wait a second, I was trying to see what that said. Oh, no. There we go. I do like his kick, though, because it does make it very easy to hit enemies that way. Maybe even better than Haggar's spinning punch. They get knifed. It seems like I'm finding the way to defeat them without getting myself hurt. Just go back and jump kick. Or, okay, and flip right into his sliding kick. Oh, okay, no, I just have to... Oh, I hit the button without moving to throw it. Okay. I was just holding right, I guess, the whole time, pretty much. I do like the idea, again, in this game, that you can throw enemies a lot easier. So again, it gives you a little more variety as far as what the beat-em-up aspect of it is. So. Red? That's a weird name. There's Doug, I guess not D-O-U-G, but D-U-G. He's think of the dog from Up, honestly, the Pixar film. But he doesn't have that voice box going. And he said the first time there is, I guess, the Statue of, or not the Statue of Liberty, is whatever Metro City's take is on it. Whoop. Come on. And there's Abigail again. Okay. Hey, welcome back. Not much has really happened. I just basically was getting to Abigail here and then fighting in front of whatever Metro City's take on the Statue of Liberty is with, I guess either it's a sunset or there's a light laser coming out. Yeah, I guess to go back to what you're saying as far as BlazBlue with the presentation, I guess it kind of makes sense to an extent with what you're saying as far as like, okay, if they want to represent the idea of thought and us not hearing that, but then again, if you have the whole game voiced, why not voice all of it, especially as far as like PS3, Xbox 360 era. So in that case, it's kind of weird. I guess as far as, just to go back to the question I was asking before you went off, a good game, I guess, with time travel and story that kind of held up to it. Again, the obvious answer probably was Chrono Trigger, I would think. But again, outside of that, I don't know if there's anything else. Yeah, Sonic 06 definitely is not a case of them doing that right, because there's so many holes in the plot of that game anyway, outside of, like, aspects of that. And we'll get to that when we get to that game, because I think we need to take a look at that. And again, I'll probably handle it the same way I do Shadow the Hedgehog. We'll do one part of the story, the Sonic part, and then we'll do the last story. But again, it's going to require me doing some off-screen work, because I actually had that game years ago. I sold it, and then I deleted my save file, and then, well, I had to do it again, so... Alright, so where's Uptown? This is the last level of the game. I think this is the last level of the game. No, yeah, it is. I should know, I played this like an hour ago. But we played with Haggar, so definitely a little bit of a different situation that way. Oh! Confectionery Country of the Nim Nim. That's... Nim 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 Nim. I don't know what it is. That's interesting. Okay, yeah, that seemed like that was the best way to go with that chandelier. Fake out slash there. Except it's not the slash I know from Guns N' Roses because it doesn't have the hat, but... There you go. But either way. Oh. I gotta say, just going back to this as far as the technical level, as far as an arcade game from 1989, it is pretty impressive how many enemies they have on screen at a time and how well the game performs that way. Sometimes you think, oh, it'd be flickering or it would be choppy, even as far as arcade machines at the time, but no. So, credit to Capcom for that. Oh! That was weird. I was doing like a little bit of a moonwalking situation. Definitely is a different situation again, since, again, we didn't have someone pop in for, co-op multiplayer for this, so unfortunately you're not getting to see that part, but the only difference was, again, to let us finish the game, I guess, faster, because I had someone else to help. Alright. So we're almost there. Bill Bull, which sounds kind of like Bald Bull from Punch-Out! And that was a Nintendo thing, not a Capcom thing. The only time Blazer made sense is the crossover and Blaze Blue cross tag. That was on... What was that for? And what did that... I guess that... What did that crossover with as well? So I remember hearing about cross tag, but I don't remember what cross tag connected with. It wasn't connecting with... Wait, wasn't Guilty Gear... Arc System made Guilty Gear, didn't they? They made Guilty Gear, I think, before they made Blaze Blue. Is it crossover with that? PS4, Xbox, Switch. Oh yeah, right, that one. Okay. Yeah, that's not. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that was the one that's crossing over with that, or maybe it's crossing over with something else. Oh, it is. Okay. So it's Guilty Gear and Blaze Blue. I remember hearing really good things about that one. Which I guess there's something interesting to say about the fact that I guess the most... Or, no. Okay, yes, it's on PS4, Switch, and Xbox. No, it's not connecting with Guilty Gear. Or no, they didn't make Guilty Gear. Because again, that's another one my experience is limited on. But in the meantime, we are almost at the guy who kidnapped Jessica Haggar. So let's get to it. There we go. No, it's not Guilty. Okay, so it's not connected to Guilty Gear. Okay. I guess then in that case, would you say the cross tag battle would be the best one to start out with if you're new to the series? I guess not least of which because it's probably the most readily available now because it's on the new systems or most new systems. I mean, feasibly, I guess it is on the new systems in the sense you can play it backwards compatible on PS5 and Series X. If you have them, or in this case, because I'm playing this on my Xbox One X, by the way, because again, this is backwards compatible that way, and as you mentioned last week, you have this on PS3, and it's on PlayStation Plus, or no, PlayStation Now, on the other systems. So feasibly, you can play cross-tag battle on one of the new systems as well. And feasibly, I guess, in that case, is, That would also be an interesting case because, I mean, I guess it would also probably would perform better on the new systems as well. Because I played, I don't know if you guys played it, Jump Force, which was like the mix of like a lot of the Shonen Jump characters. The frame rate is horrible on the Xbox One. I mean, I played on Xbox One X. It runs horribly. It's like under 20 FPS as far as how it runs. I thought, because this was before they ported it to Switch, and I said, this thing is not going to even run on the Switch if that's how it's running on this thing. But I'm thinking, well, it might get a new lease on life running on like PS5 and Series X, just for the purpose of that. Which again, is going to be an interesting situation when I get one of those units, when I can get one of those, because some of the games I have from old gen will be able to play potentially even better. Okay, Persona 4, Ruby, Under Night, and the Arc System. Okay. Yeah, okay, so that might, okay, that's probably the reason why I was thinking. That does sound familiar now. I do remember, I know people are fans of Persona and Ruby in particular, and they have mentioned to me that they really like this. So in that way, it almost sounds like BlazBlue's take on, I don't know if you played this, Project Cross Zone, which was that thing from Sega that was the mix of, I think, it was it was a bunch of Sega franchises, yeah, because it was like Sakura Wars, it was like Shenmue for the second one, I think there was something with Sonic the Hedgehog, Virtua Fighter, and a bunch of things like that for 3DS as well. Yeah, I think playing that co-op game with this before is the reason I got that 18 continues or less achievement. And again, I'm only mentioning that because, again, I hadn't played this game a large amount to be able to get everything as far as that. I mean, I guess as far as achievements are concerned, I'm not necessarily someone who will just go out of my way for every one of them, but again, something if I like the game enough, I want to keep playing it and like use that as like a, you know, hey, I got this. Basically give me more life to my game, pretty much. On top of the fact of all the life it already has for the purpose of just playing it or showing it off feasibly. Man, mostly for online? Okay, gotcha. Well, that too, as well. I mean, it always is something I always liked. And particularly in the days of the 360, which is where they first started doing stuff like that. I always liked seeing games that nobody has that they have, like, achievements listed out for. Like, even me, in my case, like, I remember one example was Rayman Raving Rabbids, which is launched on the Wii, and it got ported to PS2 and I think DS as well. They then put it on the Xbox 360, where nobody played it. In fact, I had like a game-breaking bug as far as the achievements were concerned on the 360. And I always found it funny, just the idea of like, yeah, I already played it on the Wii, and I played it on the Wii as well, but I played it on the 360. I'm like, yeah, I'm like the odd one out. Even to the point where I think the 360 version did so badly in its sales, they were going to put it on PS3 as well. They was like, no, we're not putting this on PS3. They canceled the PS3 version back then. They said, okay, it only sold well on the Wii and the DS. We're putting on the Wii and the DS for the rest of them. Right, we're almost there. Almost to the end. Still get... Yeah, again, it was easier with another player, but again, that's kind of the point as far as these things. The idea of having another friend, which again, makes me wonder about the idea of like the Super Nintendo version of this, which didn't have a multiplayer at all. I mean, it looked and sounded good, and it played decently, but again, losing multiplayer is a big deal. I mean, again, me with the thing with Golden Axe on CD. Come on, come on. Alright, we're almost there. Perfect. Right, here we go. Here's Belger again. Let's see how quick we take him out and save Jessica. Which is like little, I guess, wheelchair, but again, that's just for show. As we saw last time, we'll see one more time. I feel like the say it's not as good as Central Fiction as the last game of the story. Someone played it, most voice acting is all Japanese. Is it the hope that you wish they'd have done a dub of it, or is it something else? I don't necessarily mind like it being Japanese only or something like that, or even like English only if you do it well. Actually, I think that's what they did with Jump Force. Jump Force was also Japan only, as far as the language is concerned, or Japanese only as far as the language is concerned. Which is surprising to me, only because there's so many franchises that had, you know, like, currently running anime variants. Alright. Yes, I didn't complete Uptown in 10 minutes, but again, it was easier if I changed difficulty or if I had another player. Yeah, I feel like I just demolished him a lot quicker because, again, I had help last time, but... Okay, there we go. So the wheelchair is destroyed, it was just for show, and now he has his gun. Which, again, almost reminds me a bit of how Rocksteady was when we did Turtles last week. It's way harder because, again, this is the last boss. And I guess also I can't throw him. But soon enough, he will be going down. Unfortunately, we've got to be careful with that, otherwise I'm going to get arrowed. Again, reminds me of the Homestar Runner sketch where he's like, wants to do like my Teenage Girl Squad comic, and then he just be arrowed, and he's just, ow, my skin. We almost got him because he's down to red, or going into the red, he's in the yellow, so I can knock him down into the red now. Got him, out the window. Cody pendants. Get dubbed, so does everyone else, including Patrick says the voice of Ryan, the main character. You made a petition a little bit. Okay, wow. Alright, so there we go. So we saved Jessica again, and there is Mike Haggar again with his daughter. So glad to see they didn't hurt you. I'm so sorry, Jessica. I thought I'd lost you like I lost your mother. I'll never let anything bad happen to you ever again. I love you, Father. And again, it's interesting also the fact that I played as the father the first time, and then this time I'm playing as the boyfriend in Cody. And Guy, I played, the first time I played this game, I think I played as Guy, just because, like, well, let's play as him. So in that case, yeah, so then I get the kind of the full experience. And with that, that is Final Fight, again. And again, it was fun to go through it again with a different character, but also explore the game a little more, and just kind of, again, soak it in. And again, something that, again, it gave me more time to kind of, you know, relax and, you know, talk around and, you know, talk about this franchise, other franchises. I like the ideas that I'm hearing as far as other series I should check out, and I definitely want to take a look at some of these other ones, especially some of the ones that I had either not done or ones I hadn't played, like BlazBlue. So again, thank you very much for the suggestions and for the discussion as well, because it always is, again, a nice thing. And again, that's the point of what this show is all about. Come here at the end of a long week, all of us commiserating on video games, and just, again, have the idea of recreating the idea of what it's like to have a bunch of friends, or one friend, or however many, just kind of just having a nice, relaxing time. And so there is Cody getting some nice kissy faceness from Jessica, if you want to put it that way. And with that, I think we're... Okay, it just does that. Yeah, that's the weird thing about this collection, because again, it kicks you back to the screen with the machines that way, as far as that. But, alright, since we did Final Fight twice, and we did Magic Sword, I think that's going to call it for this iteration of Super Old Game Saturday. Next week, I'll be back at 7 p.m. again. We're going to do Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation. I just need to figure out what I'm doing as far as the sound mixing, because I'm pretty sure it looked like it was in mono when I was testing it earlier, but that might be something my capture device is being weird. So I was able to make that work when I did other stuff with PS2. So I think that we should be fine for that. So next week and the week after that is going to be Metal Gear Solid, because it's a bit longer, so we're going to play through that as much as we can for about a couple of hours. I guess we'll see how it goes, or if I can get to the end of the first disc. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see how that goes, and then depending on that, we'll do Metal Gear Solid again, the rest of the story the next week, feasibly, hopefully the rest of it. And then after that, we'll do Knuckles Chaotix for the 32X for Supersonic Game Saturday for February. So look forward to that. And then again, in February, since I was asked about, we're going to do Pitball the Mayan Adventure for the Sega CD, another one I'm going to do some practice on, but I'll probably do that late February. And again, you guys gave me some good suggestions as things I should be looking at. Again, any other games you want to take a look at, or want me to show you or play around with and us have that kind of experience with, let me know and I will track them down, or if I have them somewhere, I'll dig them out. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for me. Thank you very much to everyone who's watching. Thank you for all of your support. I appreciate it. I'll see you next week at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation.